All right, now I will hand it over to our Mayor Hopful.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'll call to order the regular council meeting of Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. Is there any public input as the meeting is open to statements from no more than 5 members of the public of no more than 2 minutes in length? Seeing none, Councilor Reeve is joining us online tonight. Any late additions or deletions? Okay, will somebody please move that the October 7th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be adopted? Councilor Flynn, Councilor Aiken, all in favor? Carried. Delegations. We have 3 delegations tonight. We'll start with BC Hydro. Okay.
Hi there. I don't have the option to share my screen.
Okay, try now.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful.
you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ines Cortada, and I'm the Stakeholder Advisor Lead for the C2 Sky region, covering for Dinah Iceberg while she's on sabbatical. To support the updates on the Bridge River Capital System projects, I have here with me Jim Shepard, Manager of Capital Projects. I have Karen Oliveira, Project Manager of BC Hydro, and I have Sabrina Losiciero, which is the Manager of Community Relations for BC Hydro as well. So for today's agenda, these are the items that we will be reviewing: an overview of the Bridge River system, a capital plan updates on the projects that we have, the First Nations consultations, access and accommodation studies, and the communications. Now I will pass it to Jim and Karen to provide their updates.
Hi. Yeah, I just want to go quickly over the Bridge River system. Water comes into the Dalton Reservoir. That's on your your top left, sort of held in place by the LaJoy Dam. Then that flows into the Carpenter Reservoir. We've got Terzaghi Dam there, and what that does, it diverts water through the penstocks into the Bridge 1 and Bridge 2 powerhouses. Then we get down to the Seton Dam. That actually blocks the water from coming out of the lake. It goes into a power canal, and then it goes into the Seton power plant, or Seton power facility, which is right by the Fraser River. We're really going to be going through LaJoy Dam, Bridge 1 powerhouse, and the Seton Dam and powerhouse today on our projects. So I will pass you over to Karen.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening, everyone. So I'll be providing updates on the capital projects that are in the works in the Bridge River system, starting with the Seton Bypass project. So BC Hydro is developing a bypass solution whereby a tunnel will be built from the end of the canal around the powerhouse to provide an alternate way to convey water from Seton Lake to the Fraser River during periods when the generating unit is shut down for maintenance or upgrades. This bypass tunnel will also reduce the risk of fisheries by mitigating high flows down the Seton River. Project design is underway. We are planning to submit an application to the BC Utilities Commission late next year or early the following year, early 2027. And we're also planning for some early construction activities for 2027. Next, please. In terms of some of the ongoing site activities taking place for this project, they include archaeological field investigations. We have now completed several rounds of archaeological investigation. The most recent one was completed last month in September, and further archaeological field work will be required in some areas. We are planning for that field work in spring of next year. Next. Now moving on to another project. This is the Seton Distribution Feeder Extension Project. In this project, we'll be extending a third feeder from the Seton substation to the town. The purpose of this project is to reduce demand on the 2 existing power lines because they're reaching capacity, thereby improving reliability of electricity to the local region. Target construction start date, we're planning for August of 2026, with a completion date a year later in August 2027. Next. At our LaJoy Dam, we have a project underway to address safety risks related to the dam's age and seismic vulnerabilities. This project is also subject to the BC Utilities Commission review. Earliest start of main construction activities is planned for year 2030 and earliest completion in year 2034. Next. In terms of some of the recent, oops, I think you skipped one. Yeah. In terms of some of the recent activities taking place at LaJoy, we are evaluating options for improvements to the infrastructure. Site investigations are underway at the powerhouse and at the dam. Environmental field studies are taking place, as well as feasibility studies for project access routes and work campsite options. Next. At our Bridge River Generating Station 1, we have a couple of projects underway. This one here is regarding the generator replacement project, where we are upgrading our existing generating units 1 to 4 because they're reaching end of life. A certificate of public convenience and necessity was granted by the BC Utilities Commission in October of 2022. We're expecting to start construction in 2028 and complete construction in summer 2032. Next. Another project at our Bridge River 1 is the Units 1 to 4 penstock internal recoding project. We're planning to start construction in spring of next year. There'll be approximately 4 years of construction, roughly 1 year per penstock, with the last one being completed in October of 2029. A related project, which is the photo you see here on the screen, this was a penstock foundation upgrade project that was completed last year in October of 2024. Next. At our Terzaghi Dam, we have a couple of projects in the works. The dam spillway chute access improvement project, which intends to mitigate rockfall hazard above the spillway to improve worker safety. Construction is also planned to start next year with targeted completion in 2027. And the dam low-level discharge reliability project, which intends to improve reliability of the low-level outlet system. This one is still in the very early planning stages, so we anticipate construction in the early 2030s. Next. And last but not least, the Bridge River Transmission Project. This project is required for upgrades and repair work on an existing transmission line in the region. A certificate of public convenience and necessity was filed with the BC Utilities Commission in 2021, but we do anticipate filing an updated application this fall. Some of the current activities, again, include some of the early field work on environmental and archaeological assessments. And we anticipate construction starting fall of next year with a completion target for 2029. And that's it for me. I'll pass it back to Ines.
Thank you, Karen. So as you are aware, we continue in consultations with the Southern Nation as the Bridge River system is in their territory. We continue to collaborate with the nation to integrate their perspective and interest into our planning and to work together to identify meaningful economic and employment opportunities across the projects. So for the access and accommodation studies, in the Bridge River region, we study the access and transportation options, working accommodation options, and socioeconomic impacts and options to mitigate those impacts. This study was completed and findings can be found in our website at bchydro.com/Bridge River. It is important to note that these recommendations stem from broad concerns, suggestions, and requirements we heard from the nation, local communities, and stakeholders. As a result of some of the project's updates, the workers' forecast is currently being revised and will be shared once it's ready. But for the next steps of the access and accommodation studies, we will continue to consult with First Nations and engage and communicate with local communities and stakeholders. We will be looking for specific sites for work camps near to Seaton, and we will be looking at the feasibility of using a new hotel to lodge workers in Lillooet. And now I will pass it to Jim to provide additional details here.
Yeah, just quickly on the hotel, BC Hydro is working with the Stednam Hotel Consortium. That's what we're calling them. So we've actually given them a revised offer as of last week. We're super close to be able to get this done. So we're hoping that they'll accept our offer and we can start getting that hotel built soon.
Thank you, Jim. So lastly, for communications, we are committed to continue to communicate and engage with residents and local stakeholders and the nations, and we will continue to use the channels that are noted in this slide. So with that, we conclude our presentation, and we now are open to receive your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say that, you know, we really appreciate the ongoing updates, the transparency and the consultation engagement that you've done with the community. It's really been helpful and yeah, we really recognize how much BC Hydro has been here through the past years and continues to be so. So thank you. I'll open it up for questions. Councillor Aiken?
I'm just wondering, can that slide deck be shared with us?
Can you
Yes,
share? Yeah.
I share it this morning with the clerk office, but yeah, if you haven't received it, we can make sure that you get a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The hotel?
The hotel, we want to know more about the hotel. Where, when, how?
Well, I hear that the CAO has been talking pretty much on a weekly basis, according to Al Bolt. He's probably the best person to be getting information from. We're sort of theoretically needing to have that hotel in place, I think, of early 2028 to be able to support our projects. So that's the timeline that we're working towards.
Okay, thank you. You did kind of know that.
Through the mayor, I'm more than happy to kind of share information. It's not private information, but certainly Al Bolt and I do speak regularly about options, land options, economic development opportunities, purchases of land, the potential for district-owned land to be involved in this project. The current owners of certain land parcels, we've been involved in some negotiations for those as well to try and help this and try and make this project. So the district very firmly stands behind the opportunity for this project and trying to enhance this as much as possible. I'm glad to hear that there's continued conversations going on. I think BC Hydro knows our kind of position on it, what we want to see in the district. We know that we want to see a hotel, and I know that Al Bolt's get very, very close to some very positive information. So yeah, I can't really share much more than that just now, but I do work on this behind the scenes kind of regularly. So thanks for dropping me in there. So
Hey, sorry for exposing you there.
it's okay.
We like
It's the
that.
best worst kept secret in town. Everyone knows about it. Don't worry.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Inez, Jean, Karen, and Sabrina, thank you very much, BC Hydro.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Have a good afternoon.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, moving on to our next delegation, we have the Caribou Chilcoot Coast Tourism Association. I think we're looking for Jacqueline Hartford.
You just wanted to tell you what the slides. Excellent.
Hello,
Hello.
I was looking for you on the screen,
yeah,
but you're
no, I'm
here.
I'm just gonna put my timer on so I make sure I know who I'm speaking for. I usually give a scroll. Okay, perfect. It's not. I'll act the slides out. Okay, perfect. Thank you everyone for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Jacqueline Harper, in case you haven't met me, and yes, I'm representing Caribou Chilcoot Coast Tourism Association. So just a little bit about us. Caribou Chilcoot Coast Tourism. You want a screen? I need to share the screen so people online can see it. You can restart your timer. I just realized that they probably can't see it. Because we have one counselor online, so okay. There we go. Awesome. I can try to minimize that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, just a little bit about us. We're a nonprofit, stakeholder-based regional destination management organization. So do you need me to click accept? Sure. Oh, I don't know.
We'll give you extra time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, I just hit that.
Yes.
Okay, hopefully.
I'm just hoping the acrobat.
The acrobat, yeah. Okay. So yeah, and we focus on promoting responsible tourism development. You want me to?
You want me to just scroll through for you?
Yeah, maybe, and then you can let all the people in.
Start your timer.
They just all want to hear me speak, I guess. Okay. So yes, and we've been operating and been active for 63 years in the region. So yeah, we've been supporting stakeholders, working with partners and operators, and helping expand local economy through tourism. Next slide. So this is just our pledge to government. Basically, we add value to government by providing real-time industry information, timely, effective responses to opportunity, proactive guidance, and counsel on potential challenges, and advancing insights on behalf of the visitor economy within our region. Next slide. Awesome. So yeah, we have 4 DEMs or destination and experience managers. So I'm the one for the southern portion of our region. So that includes Lillooet and the Bridge River Valley. So just some things I've kind of been doing to help with the local businesses is I've increased number of businesses on our website. So it's up by 24%, 12 of those, 12 special offers as well, and 2 general store listings. So that's not all from Lillooet, but the southern portion of the region. But 6 operators in Lillooet are now on the website that weren't there before. I've helped, in terms of travel media, I got to, our region featured for the Gold Rush Trail, in Destination British Columbia's article on places to visit based on the Taylor Swift Era Tour. So that was really exciting. And then we've also had 2, familiarization tours come through Lillooet, and kind of get to know some of the businesses, get to know the landscape, and, hopefully write about Lillooet and the businesses here while they're, enjoying their time, enjoying the landscape. So yeah, some exciting stuff. And yeah, just kind of getting to know the businesses, getting to know their needs and how we can support them. And yeah, we just recently had a destination development strategy session in Lillooet for Destination British Columbia's new global marketing project, or their Iconics, which is called Nature's Heartland. So you have input from local businesses, Indigenous nations as well. So that was really nice to kind of see what new experiences we can develop moving forward to attract global visitation to Lillooet. Next slide. So I just wanted to highlight some projects from last year. So we had sports tourism. We had 4 meetings with sports user groups, including one in Lillooet, and this came up with a framework to help the communities host sporting events. So generating, tourism dollars and like shoulder seasons, off seasons from people visiting and playing sports in the area. Crisis communication workshop. We had 3 communication workshops. One was in Lillooet, and this provided operators with tools to communicate effectively when there are emergencies. So that could be like frontline staff training, tourists, guests, emergency personnel, how to kind of do the PR stuff with them. So yes, respondents said it was really helpful for them in understanding, and it was very valuable. We have a jobs to staff matchmaking program as well. So this supports our operators with hiring. So we've kind of resurrected this again after COVID. And we help matchmake with some students who are in the tourism program or hospitality programs with Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops, as well as potential programs that are here as well in Lillooet. So yeah, that's kind of to help with some of the summer hiring. And we have connected with like University of BC as well as the University of Northern British Columbia for that regional trail strategy. We are creating a Cariboo Chilcotin Coast Regional Trails Framework. So we did have some meetings here, or at least one meeting here in Lillooet to get some input. So yeah, kind of exciting things happening there. Next slide. So yeah, just some current projects underway. We have, or personally, I'm working on the tourism careers presentation for high school. So this is really to work with high schoolers and getting to know how they can get into the career in tourism, whether it's like restaurants, owning their own business, things like that. So that's really exciting. And I'm currently working on a presentation to speak at high schools and with whether it's a career class or whatever it might fit best into. So I'm hoping to give some of those shortly, and hopefully Lillooet will also want to have me and just talk about those kind of opportunities for the youth and help with maybe some of those workforce talent as well. We also have the Resiliency and Workforce Project through a REDIP grant. This project is geared toward helping build more resiliency in the tourism industry and is encompassing various aspects such as providing figuring out some hindrances and figuring out some solutions for that, as well as short-term seasonal housing to gain and retain a stronger workforce. So this is actually something Mara's working on. And yeah, it's kind of pulling together lots of different pieces and just trying to figure out some of those tourism challenges through workforce. So yeah, exciting things happening there as well. And then a couple highlights from marketing. So we've added a general store to our website. So this connects with the local businesses like artisans or different people who have the online workshop. So visitors can support them as well as like from wherever they are, they can order stuff to them. We have a brand new website coming out here this fall, so it's going to make it even easier for guests to help plan their trip and come here, figure out where to stay and businesses to support. We have a food marketing map too that's going to be awesome. So it kind of is this big map on where to eat, where to get certain food with certain dietary restrictions, or for like sports groups looking for places that can host big groups as well. Yeah, so that's going to be implemented in the new website. We also have a new travel guide coming soon. It's designed by our very own content manager, Isabel, who's born and raised in the region. So we're excited for the redesigns and the pictures really showcasing the area. And then finally, we have some new advertising opportunities as well. So in addition to our traditional like travel guides and map pads, there's different ways businesses can kind of promote their business to a wider audience, such as like BC Magazine Road Trip Edition, Media Planet, and the Weather Network. Yeah, we also do accessibility assessments. So we've been doing quite a few of those. In the southern portion of the region, we actually did, I think about, 20 businesses. So we're hoping to do about 12 more this year as well. So this just provides an idea of what kind of accessibility there is, whether it's for physical, mental, and so it logs in with Destination British Columbia's Hello BC. So if travelers are looking for places to go or stay for their needs, they can find that. Yeah, Schoolie Mitchell, we partnered with them. They're a proven cost reduction services program, and they help work with tourism businesses to really help with these cost savings. So we're working with them for businesses to match up, and then they can help with saving money for like processing, phone and internet, fuel, office supplies, and waste, things like that. And lastly, Biosphere, we are certified ourselves for sustainability, and this is something we offer as well for the tourism businesses if they want to get that third-party recognition to show that they're doing a lot of things sustainably or regeneratively. So yeah, so district-owned buildings are actually applicable for that or the accessibility assessment if that's of interest. And then I just wanted to share a couple upcoming dates coming up. So we have our MRDT engagement session on Thursday, so October 9th from 3:30 to 5:30. That's at the Reynolds Hotel Restaurant. So this is a great way to understand how when we collect, or we don't collect the tax, but how the tax gets distributed through us, as well as how businesses can apply and use this for resources. Also, if you have questions, that's a great time to come and answer some of those questions. So yeah, we're excited to talk and get to help businesses and all of that. So please feel free if any of you would like to come to join us, as it's a great opportunity to kind of get to know the marketing side of the tourism better, as it's such a good industry.
Keep going. It's AGM on the slide.
Oh, sorry. Yes, and then we do have our AGM, an annual tourism summit, that's coming up in Quesnel. So it's the 17th to the 19th. Yeah. So I'm sorry, not the 15th to the 17th, but registration is still open if that would be of interest for you as well. But yeah, I'll move to my contact information if you need anything. But yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you. Hopefully I have a minute or two for you guys if you have any questions, and yeah, we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Jacqueline. That was great. You got a lot of projects going on. They're great
know.
projects.
I was
You're
like,
a busy girl, busy group. So that's fantastic.
Yeah,
It is. I liked hearing that you were going to go to the high schools and do some scouting out for future entrepreneurs. That's really a good idea. Can you tell me about the travel guide?
Yeah, I guess I don't have any here, but the travel guide is for the whole Caribou Cotton Coast tourism region. So it's basically kind of like a magazine that we give out to businesses, and we also send them overseas. They go to like consumer shows, travel media shows, things like that. And it talks a little bit about each region, as well as businesses can like have their own display there if they want to pay for an ad as well. We're having a directory in the back for our accommodation and experiences providers. That's free to any businesses opted into our digital site. So it's just kind of like wayfinding, how to connect with like the people, the culture, different opportunities to explore like the nature and things like that.
And how would I find one of these?
Oh, we do have it online. Or I have some in my truck too, so if you would like some, I do have some in the truck, so.
Okay, now I just mean for the public.
Oh, yeah,
Or do we
yeah.
find them at visitor center? Okay, yeah. Good.
As well as certain businesses in town will have them.
Okay.
Hotels, I've given them out too. But yeah, the visitor center is definitely the best place to get them, so then the public can take them too. And there's the maps too that they love. Yeah.
Okay, my last question, MRDT at the Reynolds. So are you advertising that online, or how do people find out about this?
Yeah, I've sent it out to all the businesses
Okay.
via emails. So that's how I've been communicating with
Okay.
that. I'm trying to think, we have like our newsletters, but you have to be opted in for that. So if you would like to be, like, I can sign anybody up for that. Or you can opt in yourself online on the website. But those are the kind of the main avenues.
Okay.
Yeah, and just word of mouth as people talk about it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions? Councillor Funk.
Yeah, you have been busy.
I know, I was like, hey, condense everything to just specific to this area.
Yeah. No, what are the familiarization tours?
Yeah. So, yeah, we call them FAMs in short because it is a very long
Yeah,
word.
that's-
But they're kind of, imagine them like a press kind of trip. So we normally have different journalists, depending on the project come. They get to experience different experiences or the food or the culture. And then, yeah, they kind of go home, write about it and pitch it to whatever kind of journals they work with or magazines they work with, because they're typically freelance. So the one that just came through for Nature's Heartland stayed 2 nights in Lillooet. One night in Lillooet. And so we visited like Western Experience tours. They did the Jade Walk. They were at the museum, ate at a couple different restaurants in town. And yeah, got to kind of feel the community based on like the brand pillars they have for Nature's Heartland. So there were 4 journalists. And so, yeah, as we get information, we share it with the businesses that like, hey, like you were featured in whatever, like the Toronto Star, for example. And so, yeah, that's kind of the familiarization tours. It gets the journalists familiar with the area and they write stories about what kind of connects to them. So, yeah. Yeah. Does that answer the question? Okay, perfect.
Okay, well,
Awesome.
great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 6.3, we'll move on to interior health. Do we have Karen Cooper and Dr. Pete Bosma?
Good evening, Mayor. Thanks for having us. I can certainly see the intersection of recruitment and retention with your last guest, so it was a privilege to hear their presentation. We'll try to be equally as speedy. I did appreciate the talking speed. I'm not seeing the share button, so may I assume someone's going to share our presentation? Beautiful. So as articulated, I'm Karen Cooper. I'm the Executive Director of Clinical Operations for Interior Health in the West region. And Pete?
I am Pete Bosma. I'm the Executive Medical Director for Interior Health North for Clinical Operations, and I'm also acting Chief.
We're having a little trouble hearing you, Dr. Bosma.
Oh, apologies. Let me adjust some sound stuff here. Can you hear me now?
No, well, we can barely. I don't know if that's on our end or.
I'm going to have Pete fiddle because I lead the first few slides and I know you're pressed for time, Mayor Hoffel. So I'll carry on if we can move to the next slide, which is that I definitely want to acknowledge with humility. I'm calling in today from the traditional territory of the Secwepemc people in Kamloops, and really especially want to acknowledge the St'át'imc people on whose territory Lillooet is situated. So it's our quarterly review with Mayor and Council, and so very pleased to be able to put this slide up. It's been quite a year in Interior Health in our partnership with folks in the Lillooet area, and really happy that we've been able to stabilize our emergency services. In fact, no interruptions since July 21st. Large part in due to having new physicians join us. So we're very excited to have our 3 new physicians that came in September and Dr. Gammoudi who came in the spring. As well, we do have 2 physicians that are expected to join us in 2026. So really have a robust crew of physicians to support emergency services. Why we're here today, if we could go to the next slide, please, is to ensure that we are creating bulletproof strategies for reliable access to emergency care going forward. So we definitely want to maintain access to care for everyone in the interior, no matter where they live. And so the reality is that, of course, our rural sites especially are struggling to maintain 24/7 services. So what we want to do today is bring forward a concept in order to look at different non-traditional models of care that we think will fit really well to not only support that reliable access to care, but that really look after our physicians from a work-life balance and really promoting their wellness. And that in turn trickles down to all the staff and improves the retention of staff going forward. So in the next few slides, if you're able to hear Pete, we'll definitely go through what the concept is. I will, before I hand it over to him, just acknowledge that we have several things in place that help us to stabilize things in rural, and we know that the rural incentives and the movement to an alternate payment model have really helped. As introduced, these practice-ready international medical grads really do fill out our roster of physicians in rural. But where we want to move the conversation today is to look at the innovation that we're seeing around virtual support for hospitals in Interior Health, both using the VERA program, which is a virtual emergency room rural assistance program, and I know that they have supported Lillooet in the past, as well as the project that we're nearing 1 year of success that you see in the picture there with our Vice President, Diane Shendrick, of providing virtual support for inpatients, for medical acute patients at Caribou Memorial. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Pete to walk you through what it is we're proposing to do to shift the model of ED coverage in rural. Pete?
Okay, we'll try this again. I'll talk loud and I'll sit close to my computer. So apologies if you can see my nose hairs in the process, but I'm Pete Bosma. I am the Executive Medical Director for Interior Health North for Clinical Ops, and I'm also the Acting Chief of Staff in Lillooet at the moment. Trying to get out every couple of weeks. I was out earlier today, but due to competing meetings, I had to come off site, so apologies for that. Anyways, the proposed overnight hybrid emergency service model. The diagram kind of gives you a straw dog idea of what this is all about. This is something that Interior Health and the ministry has come up with to help to explore new ways of providing emergency services and also provide relief for local physicians so the call burden is not as high. Service is not dramatically different than what it is. The emergency department is open 12 hours a day, and after hours we have some more highly trained, specialty trained ED nurses who can perform specialty assessment skills and assess patients as to their needs, and then they would talk to a virtual doctor on nights that Lillooet is not present. And that could be one of 4 hospitals in this pilot project that we're proposing. But basically, when Lillooet is on, there will be a doctor on site 24 hours a day, and they will also cover other sites. And when they're not on, the proposed model would have a virtual physician in one of the other sites assessing the patient along with the nurses on the ground in the local hospital. And that physician and that team of nurses will determine what the patient's care needs are. And if a physician is needed on site, we still have our local physicians on site in the community in the background. This model is really just to provide timely care, but also to provide some relief for after hours volumes for the physicians. So next slide, please. So again, we want to develop this model with several of our smaller sites, and there's 4 that are selected. Lillooet Hospital, Helmkin Memorial Hospital in Clearwater, Arrow Lakes in Nakusp, and Princeton General Hospital in Princeton. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering why we chose these 4 sites. And really the model as we see it, these 4 sites have comparable numbers of visits, daily visits and overnight visits. They're both in rural and remote communities where physicians wear multiple different hats and not only provide care in the ED, but also provide inpatient care, long-term care, satellite care in surrounding First Nations communities, and clinic care on a daily basis. And sometimes if call volumes are high, physicians, it can lead to burnout faster if they're not getting a good sleep before their following day's work, where there's seems to be no shortage of work coming at them the following day. When we can't find local coverage, we can look at locum pools to fill in for our local physicians, but the reality is it seems like we have our schedule filled out quite nicely, at least through the end of November, and I would suspect thereafter without any difficulties. Next slide, please. So this slide kind of goes over our triage acuity, Canadian triage acuity score system. So a CTAS 1 would be a life and limb, less than 1% of our volumes. Emergent is a CTAS 2, it's about 13%. Urgent is about 43, 44%. Less urgent, 37%, and non-urgent, about 6%. So, you know, when we look at these, some of these, especially the less urgents and the non-urgents, can potentially get advice quite easily from the virtual doctor or the nurses on site. And if follow-up needs to be in person, they can arrange that with the docs in the local clinic the following day. I would say, yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about that slide, but that's basically our volumes and our CTAS breakdown right now. So I'll turn it back over to Karen.
Thanks, Dr. Bosma. So next slide, let's circle back then with all of that information to our proposed overnight model. And so really want to bring home what the main points about the model are, is that we do anticipate, based on past volumes that you just saw, that most patient needs overnight are urgent to non-urgent and can be managed, as Pete said, through the care of the RNs and the virtual physicians. What makes this model unique when we compare it across Canada is that we do have that in-person backup in the community that we can call in should the case determine it. And, you know, what the nurses report, they're very excited about this because right now, overnight, they really worry about calling in the doctor, knowing they have a busy clinic day the next day and they don't want to bother them, they don't want to wake them, which can lead to waits overnight. And now our nurses will be very confident to have that virtual doctor who is on shift in person at one of the 4 sites, be able to support them with that decision-making, with those clinical orders, and really just make that overnight burden less for everybody. As we chatted with other physicians in other communities, they're very thrilled about the idea of being on call overnight, only 1 in 24 nights. Between those 4 sites, there are 24 physicians. And so the call burden, as Dr. Bosma has mentioned, goes down. It enables us to really think about retention for rural sites, because we know that that's been something that's been expressed in the past. So as Dr. Bosma said, it's not a lot different than our current model, but it really does factor in that you're part of a team now to cover your site overnight. And as a team, able to do each of these sites with a bit of rest then for those local physicians. So that's it in a nutshell. So our final slide is really just to summarize what our next steps are, is that we're taking the model to all 4 communities, talking to nurses, talking to physicians, talking to municipal leaders, First Nation leaders, and just getting input and feedback on what we're proposing, particularly around any opportunities or challenges that we should be aware of as we go forward with consultation. And I know you got a bit of a sneak peek of this, Mayor, so I will pass it back to you and take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions?
On your ER coverage overnight and whatnot, you put a list up there of all the percentages and whatnot. How many hospitals did you take those percentages out of, and where were their locations?
Great question. So that's the data from the 4 pilot sites that were shown in the map before. So this is the data from Arrow Lakes in the Cusp, from Lillooet, from Clearwater, and from Princeton, all combined together.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And this data is not that far off of the average emergency department, even in a larger city.
Clearly the mayor there, there's a lot of focus on the physicians in this program. I'm just wondering if there's the same attention paid to the nurses, because I know some of the workload is going to be shifted to them. Are they going to bolster numbers for nurses, or what's the plan here?
Yeah, excellent question. So the answer to that is an emphatic yes. So there's a couple of the things that intersect, which makes the timing of moving forward with this model so important. One is that across BC, we're moving to create what's called minimum nurse to patient ratios. And so the minimum for a rural emergency department is moving from a single nurse model that we have in Clearwater and Lillooet to a 2-nurse model. And that, acknowledges the additional efforts of coordinating to support other sites, as well as, to your point, being that eyes and ears and the in-person clinician that's supporting the virtual physician. So great question.
Okay, and so this is similar to the Rudy program, or is it the Rudy program?
Yeah, so the Rudy is the rural physician that supports more of our outposts from a primary care capacity, and so that's the rural coordination center. So you're on the right track. Their virtual emergency program is called Vera, so it's similar to the Vera program 100%. The reason we've moved to this model, Mayor, is that Vera has the capacity to support 1 emergency department in all of BC per night. This is the first multi-site support model being proposed in BC. It is being done successfully in other jurisdictions such as Saskatchewan, Alberta, Newfoundland, but it's the only multi-site coverage model that has an in-person backup in each community. And I think that's what makes this model a little bit more bomb-proof. So we're very happy to put this one forward.
Okay, and just for clarification, is this when there is no coverage for the ER, or will this be a model every night?
The proposal is to move this to a model every night, that full 12 hours of daytime coverage in each of these emergency departments. But as you saw with that volume slide, averaging, 2 to 3 patients in a 12-hour period overnight, crossing 4 sites, it'll average about 9 visits a night for that virtual doctor. But yes, moving to virtual overnight, except in 1 and 4 nights, your site will be the site that has the in-person physician.
Okay, and I think this is my last question, but I can't be sure. Are all of our doctors on board with this? Like, do they agree with the only working that 12-hour shift?
Mm-hmm. So it's an excellent question, and I'm not going to answer all of them. So I'm going to pass the hard ones to Dr. Bosma.
Thanks, Karen. Our doctors had several questions about this. Again, it's not dramatically different from what they are experiencing at present. they are funded to be on site for 12 hours. And if there is more volume that comes in after those 12 hours, they do still get funded for those hours. But there is, limited hours in that pot, and they just need to be cautious and cognizant of what they're seeing in the emergency department. If anything, this really gives better care and guarantees at least one night in four where there is, well, it guarantees one night in four where there is somebody on site all night long. And the other nights, people can be seen virtually, and if they need a physician, that physician will be called in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Councillor Flan.
Through the mayor. So just going back with the person who is on backup. So if they are needed to be called in, are they on like a standby wage, or they just come in as to sort of per incident?
Well, they have an on-call stipend called our MOCAP system that historically they've always been under, and that remains in place. And then when they come in, they get paid, for the time that they're at work. At their standard clinical rates, I should say.
Okay. Any further questions?
Thank you, through the mayor. Dr. Bosman, Gavin Cooper, lovely to see you. Thank you very much for the update. A stark, massive difference from where we were 6 months ago. I think we know how much work the Interior Health have put in. I really just a huge thank you on behalf of the team and the community for the work that you guys have been doing behind the scenes, both with our RCMP, with the hospital, with ourselves, and listening to the concerns on it. I know there's more stuff coming that you're not sharing, which is really good stuff that we're all still working on. Like, we've still got a collaborative meeting that we sit down with as well. There's both Karen Cooper and myself and Dr. Bosma sit down and actually discuss other things that are happening in the community. I know we've got situational tables that we're working with the RCMP. It's really just to kind of let the council know and let the rest of the community know this isn't the end of the kind of conversation. There's a lot of other work that's continuing in behind the scenes that we're working with the hospital with, both community level, council level, and yeah, it's really just a thank you for all the hard work that you've done on it. So thanks very much.
Appreciate that. And I want to say, I know it's been difficult for the community with ER closures, and you have advocated appropriately, and that's what a community should do. And we will continue to work with you to provide the best service and something sustainable in the long run. So thanks for bearing with us.
And thank you. I'm just waiting to meet up with Divisions BC. We thought that we were going to meet with the 3 doctors early this week, but it didn't happen. Divisions has kind of put it off for hopefully just a week or two, but we will be kind of trying to integrate them into the community as well. So again, thank you for everything that you are doing. And we are so happy that we're not facing the ER closures that we have this past year. It's been really great. Okay, thank you.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having
everybody.
us. Good night.
Good night.
With that, I'm just going to take a 5-minute break before we get to the rest of this. Not that you guys get to leave, not against.
Bob could
Welcome back. A little bit of a long 5 minutes, but we're on number 7, the consent agenda. Before we move the agenda, if anyone wishes to remove any of the correspondence items, please raise your hand. None? Sure. Yeah, so nobody wants to raise anything? Okay, will somebody please move the consent agenda, receive this information, Councilor Flynn, Councilor McNally, all in favor, carried. Okay, we'll go on to 9.1, staff reports. Council resolution amendment to meet grant requirements for the Strategic Priorities Fund. It's him.
Good evening, Council. This is just a quick thing. At the September 2nd, 2025 council meeting, council approved or did a resolution about the Strategic Priorities Fund, but when the grant writer went to submit it, the UBCM people needed specific wording in there that wasn't in the resolution. So in your agendas, the black text is the one that was already approved as a result. And then the red text is the addition about that the district will provide overall grant management and support any cost overruns added. And our finance and CAO didn't have any problems with that, so that's why it's coming back, just because we need the official resolution amended so it can be submitted with the application in order to apply for all the money for all the wonderful projects.
Okay, so a bit of a housekeeping.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Councilor Flynn.
Through the mayor. So it's just saying that if we incur costs over the grant, if we receive it, that we're responsible for it. That's all.
And through the council, as through the mayor, we're not doing overruns, we're not doing additional funds over and above it because it's a very limited project. So the project, if we were to receive the funds, would be limited to the fund amount rather than project specific amount. So say, for example, we applied for, out of the $7 million, if we applied for a project up to 1.7 million or $2 million, if we got a grant for 1.5, that would be the budget for the project. So we would make sure to stay to that project amount to make sure that we weren't doing any overruns and additional works to it. So yeah, purely just
It's not gonna be like Burnaby's water treatment plant.
we're going to try and avoid that.
Any other questions? Councilor Aiken?
Just for question, the sake of questions, what is the cost of like providing a grant management there?
So that's a really good question. So it depends on, through the mayor, it depends on what, go back in my project management days, it depends on what kind of project we're going to run. So through MMCD, there's a style and standard document that contractors use now for municipal construction projects. And it's either, here's the project, how much does it cost to deliver it, or here's how much money we've got, that's the maximum we can spend to. So for example, like the Malzaki House project that we're working on just now, we have an allotted amount of money, we're not going above that. And the contractor and our primary contractor knows that, and then we work through that document with them. So we would manage a lot of it in-house. So there's no additional overruns and costs on it. So how much does it cost to manage a project? Well, we would just use MMCD standards and the construction project, sorry, the construction, not MMCD, CCDM's contract to actually manage the contract themselves. So each of these, I would need to bring them back for council to actually see it, but each construction project, you can basically tailor how the management style is for your construction project. So if I was going to say, we're going to do the roof on this building, does that look like? Then we would pull these construction project contracts out, and we would look at the construction projects. They're all templated to us now anyway, and we use those templates to actually manage our projects themselves. So we would be able to manage them in-house through our operations department or through Mike here in the recreation department. So we can actually manage most of these contracts now completely, not inexpensively, but pretty much free of house for what we need to do with them. So the construction project should all be managed in-house, or we would put that inside the contract depending on what we're doing for that. I don't know if that answered the question, sorry, but most construction projects nowadays are. Find that it's easier to show you than it is anything else. Not to confuse the whole situation because I'm already now. That right, let me ask Christina. So Christina, what's the video as well? If I look up, we can jump on the internet quickly. That wasn't.
Join the meeting. You can share your screen. Or do you want to just send me a link via email?
I'll send you a quick one. So
It's right, questions?
no, it's a very, very fair question. But I just want to be able to give you the answer because I know you're asking how much does it cost to manage them.
Yeah, the way I read it there, it's the grant management part of it, like it's probably reporting to the funders and stuff, right? Is that what they're asking there? Is that?
Part of it, yes, that would be, so Laurie Reimer would do that part for us for the report for the grants. So we've already got a budget and a line item for that. So that's the easy stuff. So the grant application. So grant applications would be managed through Laurie Reimer and myself. So her and I work through the grant reporting process. So that's dealt with in-house. That's the easy side of things. And then construction projects themselves are, it's not MMCD, that's the Municipal Standards for Construction. This is the contractual documentation committees and work documents. So if we look down, if you bit, you can see these are the types of construction project that we have. So depending on what we want to do and how we want to formulate the management of the construction projects themselves, all of the templates are already in here for us to be able to use and operate on. So if I was to say, let's go into a 5A document, then we would look at the construction management contract for services. So if we clicked into 5A, then it would show us it's a template. If you download it, you download the whole thing. But what we would do is we would start to populate the information into that project, and then we just manage through that project. So that would be a fee for service. So we would go out to tender and say, we're looking for a fee for service for a roof, and we have $1.2 million. What can we do within that budget? Here's the fees, here's the services, and then how do we merge that all together and manage it? And we manage that at the back end of it, rather than having a specific project manager. We use these documents to actually manage them. And it saves us a whole lot of time and effort and money when it comes to project management, and we can do most of it in-house nowadays. So that's typically all project management hat as it comes off. We utilize all of these. And these are all a variety of different things. So that's construction management for services, but the other ones, if you go back through, are jump back out of them. Then you've got them down at the bottom of that line. You'll see that they all kind of change. And so you have them in there that are for a service contract between an owner and a consultant. So if we have a consultant that's working for us, how do we manage that consultant? If we're working with a third party, how do we manage that? If we're looking for not fee for service, we're looking for something specific. Like for example, if we say we want you to upgrade our pool, they might come in and be like, well, what's your budget? We don't know what our budget is yet. How do we manage that? So there's contracts in place to actually manage the expectations of what that full project could look like, and get us a feasibility study to get us more dialed in costs and get us from a Class C estimate down to a Class A estimate so that we have more precision in it. And so the budgets don't run away with themselves. So it's a really, really good template, and there's lots of suggestions inside it. Reporting goes through Laurie, project management goes through CCDCs.
Thank you. It's hard to think.
Sorry.
That's good.
Any other questions?
Why would we inspect the money?
Once you guys pass the resolution, that will just be
Okay.
zoomed in. I wish it would be as easy and as simple as that.
Okay, will somebody please move that the District of Little submit a capital infrastructure stream application to the Strategic Priorities Fund for upgrades to the Recreation Center for up to $7 million in eligible funding, and that the District of Little submit a capacity building stream application to the Strategic Priorities Fund to support long-term planning and asset management for the wastewater treatment plant and that the district will provide overall grant management and support any cost overruns added, and further that staff be directed to prepare and submit the necessary applications prior to the strategic priorities fund deadline. Councillor Aiken, Councillor Bland, all in favor? Carried.
Thanks, council.
9.2, draft zoning bylaw revisions. Dayline?
Alright. Okay. So we got a little PowerPoint to go along with this presentation, but it's gonna be in a little bit from this. So to begin with, thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time tonight as district staff and consultants from Alpine Engineering discuss with you the updates to the draft zoning bylaw since the second reading on September 2nd, 2025. Amendments were made based off staff recommendations. However, there are a few topics that require further discussion, so staff can finalize edits for the public hearing and the third reading. Upon these resolutions, staff recommend council direct these changes, that public hearing be scheduled, and that staff give notice of public hearing in accordance with the Local Government Act for November 4th, 2025. To furthermore present the items on the agenda, we would like to begin with short-term rentals in apartment buildings. During the second reading, September 2nd, council was asked to decide whether, oh, sorry about that. There's no slides on this part of it yet, so we'll just discuss short-term rentals here. During the second reading on September 2nd, council was asked to decide whether short-term rentals should be permitted in apartment buildings. We have split the options to either a yes with conditions or no. If yes with conditions, staff recommend allowing one short-term rental per building in the residential multifamily zone, which would apply to triplexes, fourplexes, townhomes, and apartment buildings. We believe that this would provide the most balanced approach in protecting long-term rentals and maintain the current level of administrative work for the district. We are open to other options at council's discretion, which include a flat cap per residential multifamily zoned units, a flat cap for all zoned units, or a full prohibition of STRs on all residential multifamily zones. The next one is on EV charging. Go to the next slide, please. So staff have taken concerns presented in the second reading, and we've tried to make some changes to accommodate them. The first thing we did, EV charging has been removed as a requirement for accessible parking spaces. We have removed the requirement for EV charging outlets for residential lots as well that require 4 or less parking spaces. So almost every single family home and some duplexes that don't have any accessory units would not require a charging outlet. Staff have also furthermore provided 3 options for minimum EV charging stations at parking lots. Staff recommend charging infrastructure be required for developments with 5 or more spaces. So the first option, scaling up with size as shown on the tables below each option. We recommend the first approach as it balances feasibility for small developments with the OCP's policies. Those were the options here, so we can kind of cycle through them. And for the non-residential portion, for tourism and non-residential land uses, we have also maintained the same minimums for the EV charging for non-residential and tourism uses, but added the recommendation that new developments with up to 6 parking spaces would be exempt, so wouldn't need it for up to 6 parking spaces from EV charging requirement. The requirement would only come into effect once there's 7 or more parking spaces. Next was potentially separating drug rehabilitation and shelters from community care uses. Further research was put into the potential to separate community care facilities with supportive housing. A few towns in BC do support a separated definition, but they do so as they already have predetermined areas and parcels where they can fit for that zone. After discussions, staff do not recommend separating definitions for supportive housing. However, we believe that if council desires to move forward with splitting the definitions, a greater discussion regarding spot zoning areas of interest for supportive housing can be taken in the spring after this bylaw is adopted. Next is fence heights for wildlife. The current draft of the bylaw allows 6-foot solid fences with a 4-foot wire mesh topper for a total height of 10 feet. Staff recommend to keep option 1 based on the benefits written out in the staff report. parking of unoccupied registered RV boats, trailers. So this is for on-street parking for larger vehicles. Some deliberations with the consultants and other bylaw and the bylaw officer. Staff recommend prohibiting on-street parking of RVs, boats, and trailers. We debated the option to allow on-street parking for up to 7 days per year. However, enforcement of that alternative would be challenging as it would be difficult to document how long each major vehicle sits on a street. Staff recommend the prohibition to provide a clear and enforceable rule. With additional updates, staff will also consider adding a short-term rental disturbance policies to the business bylaw in its next update. The minor equestrian center definition was simplified to allow non-resident owned horses in minor equestrian centers. Buffer strip standards were also simplified, and fire smart vegetation language was added. And animal control text was removed and is now covered in the animal control bylaw. So based on these deliberations tonight, council is asked to select a preferred options for the ones that are provided. Staff recommend that council receive the updated draft zoning bylaw for review and direct staff to make arrangements for a third reading and a public hearing on November 4th, 2025. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna go through these one by one, ask council what they think.
Okay.
And then we'll probably refer to you for
Any
questions
questions?
or anything like that as we go.
Absolutely.
Okay. So do we want to just start with 1A? Does council want to allow SCRs in apartment buildings at all? Option 1 or option 2?
What page you?
We are on page 28 of 105. Paragraph right under discussion there. So option 1, yes, we support allowing short-term rentals in apartment buildings with conditions and cap. Or no, we believe that short-term rentals should be not allowed in apartment buildings at all. I'll start because I think we should go with option 1, but open up. Hey, we got a talkative group. Councillor Aiken, what do you think? Option 1 or 2?
We're talking 1A?
Yes.
Yes.
You think option 1? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Devine?
Option 1.
Councillor McNary, option 1. Okay, we would like to go with option 1.
All right, fantastic. Byron.
Look at that, eh? Okay, B, capping total number of short-term rentals. Staff inquired with bylaw officer who confirmed only one short-term rental business license had thus far applied for a short-term rental in an apartment building. So we have option 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Councillor Plan.
Through the mayor. Of the 5 options, I do prefer option 1, though I am a little unsure of adding townhouses in there. Just direct me here. My idea of a townhouse is normally just one residence, unless you have like a cluster of townhouses where you've got 2, 3, or more. So my concern is if we're doing just one townhouse, then we are taking one residence out of the housing pool.
Through the web mayor, from my understanding, you would be correct that one townhouse, if the entire unit was rented out, would be taken away from a long-term rental. I might need some clarification here from your side, Thomas. But is that true that a townhouse can be retrofitted, like a basement of the townhouse can be used and remade into an STR if it wanted to?
Yeah, so thank you. Through the mayor here. The way that the draft bylaw is written now, a person owning a townhouse or apartment unit or a triplex unit could indeed rent out that unit, provided that there is a designated person living within 15 kilometers who's also listed on the business license that can be contacted in case of questions or maintenance concerns, etc. So yes, it's true that when renting out a unit, I mean, that kind of your argument definitely applies to all of them actually, is indeed if the unit is being rented out through Airbnb, that results in one less unit being potentially available for sale or for long-term rental. So that's true, yes.
And through the mayor, I'd also like to add, an STR is slightly different from a long-term rental. You don't need a kitchen in an STR. You just need a sort of block-off suite and a washroom as well. So if, you know, somebody bought a townhouse, let's say it was 3 stories high, and they wanted to make their basement into an STR, and they fit all the building codes and they applied for the building permit, you would be able to have, you know, someone that's owning the top couple of floors and somebody that's renting out the bottom floors for STRs as well. So there's an opportunity for, you know, them to live there, and yeah.
Yeah, no, through there, that's good. No, I guess my mind was going that I was more associating townhouses as to apartments. So, yeah, so you have like either have a townhouse or you have a cluster of townhouses, which I was thinking more apartment way. So no, I'm fine with that. Yeah, thank you.
So you're still good with option 1?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Aiken?
More to Patty's point there, I know people in town that have a townhouse with a rental suite in the basement there, so it's out there, it's happening. It's a real big concern. But yeah, I'm not one too.
Number 1, okay, I am too. Number 1.
It's easy.
Snacks help.
Okay. 2A, EV charging capability for new residential buildings. Okay, so option 1. So we've got option 1, 2, and 3. We start with 1 to 4 parking spaces as 0, and then option 2 is there are a lot more parking spaces and less EV and so on. Councilor McNary.
I have
where do you
a
stand on
problem,
this?
through the mayor, I have a problem with the EV charging stations. Was just listening to the government the other day and they're backing off on their EV vehicles and whatnot. I think we're adding expenses to building a house that's not necessary. And you know, the government has taken housing from $100 a square foot to 360 already. And we're gonna add to it ourselves without. I don't like it. I'm not for any of it.
I have a question. When we're talking about parking spaces, so let's take on option 2, it's got 15 parking spaces. Are we now talking, like, is a townhouse considered if it's a row housing? Is that, and it's got 15 spaces, is that count as one place? Or is it one giant house that's got 15 parking spots? Again, I just don't know of any.
So Mary, that's a good question. Thomas, would you be able to clarify?
Or is it an apartment?
Yeah, so through the mayor, you're correct indeed in noting that in option 2, for example, the minimum requirement doesn't kick in until you have 7 required parking spots. So that automatically excludes basically every single family, duplex, triplex, even some quadplexes, so 4 under one roof. Even those are mostly exempt. So the only residential blocks that would ever require this would be, for example, if you were to have some sort of semi-stratified townhouse complex, so where you have, you know, more than 4 homes in a row, you might have 1 or 2 spaces that are required to be have the electric charging capability. So like looking at a practical level, you know, perhaps you could see if you had a complex of 15 units, maybe the developer would choose to put the communal visitor parking spaces, for example. They could put the plug, or they might put it on the side of the building. So yeah, this really exempts most construction within most of these options. They basically exempt most residential construction within Lillooet from this requirement for the level 2 charging capability.
Okay, with this, so if we were gonna build like a seniors housing complex like Red Rock, it has 21 little apartments. Would that require like 4 EV charging spots. Yes,
Yes, yeah, so Madam Mayor, yeah, indeed. So looking at option 2 here, if you have 21 units, 21 apartment units in this case, Kayvon, you might be able to correct me. What exactly it might not be one parking space per unit, but yeah, you're right. It would be approximately four electrical charging spots.
Yes, it would.
okay. So that, I just wonder about that because most people in that situation wouldn't be driving. A lot of them wouldn't be driving. There's a few cars in that, like if I take Red Rock, there's a few cars there, probably maybe 3 people have cars, but they would have to have spots. It would be more scooters, I think, that would need the electrical charge plug-in than anybody. And I kind of agree with Councillor McNary that I think we're putting this before we're actually there in our world. I know that, you know, there will be things come out that, I mean, the scooters can lay down a mat and drive on them, just like we can put our phones, you know, and have a pad there that charges them. Like, I just wonder where it's gonna go, but that's our plans.
For the mayor, for residential builds, we're talking about new builds. I'm kind of with Councillor McNary there. Basically, any builder who is worth his salt is going to be telling the person who they are going to be working for, adding in all the new things or this, or suggesting that we should have an EV charger here, we should maybe have this here. I think for residential buildings, it should be up to the person who is building it to take the advice of their architect or their builder and saying, well, maybe you should put that in there. And yes, we will, and say, instead of saying, yes, you have to have that in there. Different story for when we get up to non-residential, but I don't think we should be putting that in for residential builds.
I'm just gonna clarify, Councillor McNary, and you are both for option 4, remove all EV charging. Is that correct at this point?
For new residential builds.
Or new residential build, okay. Right, see you.
2 very quick points. Councillor, we also voted for options 1 on the first 2. Sorry, just.
Option 1?
Option.
Okay.
Good questions there.
Oh, gosh,
The
I'm
first 2
sorry.
questions. That's okay. No, Councillor, we was say.
Where is she?
Text me in the top corner here as well, so.
Okay.
Just for a point of clarification, Councillor Weebus still.
All right, sorry,
No, that's good.
Councillor Weeb.
You just kind of text me. Kevin, can we just clarify, when we're talking about the EV chargers, are the requirements to install the EV chargers in residential houses and what we're talking about here just now?
So
Or is that all removed down to these kind of units?
Yes, so the options that are presented here, they reflect the number of residential units you want to have in a lot. So for us, 1 to 4 for a single detached home would just mean that none is required. If you want to make a single family home, you probably don't need to add one. Even with your accessory unit and your carriage home, those are three spots that requires 4 parking spaces right now. None of them would require an outlet. It's when you get to duplexes with accessory units or anything like a triplex or a quadruplex is when option 1's minimum EV parking requirements would kick in. The other options too, so 7 to 12 and 10 to 14 just reflect those types of housing units as well. So when it comes to the second option, for example, 7 to 12 would mean that all single family units and all duplexes would not need an EV outlet as a minimum. From there on, it would be like a triplex. So 10 to 14, a triplex wouldn't need EV parking minimums. So those options just sort of reflect the type of housing that's being made.
Okay.
Anything larger than a triplex, that's when we say we need that to kick in.
Okay.
Just through the mayor, just so the council understand, that we very clearly heard what we're talking about, single family homes, duplex, we hear that. That's the options that were presented here just now, that's been pulled back. If we looked at something like the seniors housing complex that's going to get built above the RCMP station, for example. There's 22 or 24 units that's going to be inside that. If we go back to the other one, you're looking at a much larger scale type development that's going to have much larger and more complex people coming and going. People that live there may not use parking spaces, but their daughter may be coming up from Vancouver with a Tesla. It's good to have a charging space for people like that. And in larger complexes like that, we're really looking at really large developments at that point. We're talking about things that exceed, we're talking about 20 units. We're not asking for all of them, we're only asking for 3 of those to at least be accessible for EV charging stations inside them. So we're really kind of scale back on that kind of requirement. Single family homes, it's pulled out, doesn't exist. So we've listened to council and what was said with that. But again, we want to still try and kind of look at it. These follow what we're doing as part of our OCP as well. So when we're talking about accessibility, EV chargers, all of those things are still part of our OCP. So if we're saying that here, we don't want any of it, then we need to then look at what we're doing through our OCP as well. So we will need to amend it further down the line if we're not including anything in it at all. As a knock-on effect to other things, just for council's knowledge.
Okay, Councillor Weeb, I'm gonna go to you. What is your preference? Option 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I'll text them. Councillor Weeb is okay with option 1 again.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't have my mic off. I just texted Joe that I was good with option 1 on the EV chargers.
Oh, okay, all right. You're good with option 1. Okay, Councillor Aiken, where do you sit on this?
Yeah, I think you know where I sit, but I do appreciate Randy's perspective on things, like maybe this is in the future, but at this point now, I think the electric cars are here to stay, and that is the future for now. And if we can encourage that by people put EV charges as many places as we can within reason. I'm disappointed they're coming out from residential, like single family detached, but this is what's on the table. Like option 1 is what the least restrictive is. I think that's what I'd go with.
Oh, great. So we got 2 option 1s and 2 option 4. Okay, you would like to change your vote? Okay, I would like to weigh in. I would like to go with option 2. So it really does take it away from single family homes and duplexes, and it goes to larger builds, like what's gonna happen upon the heights there, where they're gonna have, multiple family builds and assisted living and all of those. So I would go to number 2. Councillor Plant, what are you changing it to?
Well, I got a question first. through
Okay.
there. I cannot remember, and I'm not a planner or anything. What is sort of the ratio of parking spots for like a residence or a townhouse or a duplex? Like, is it?
From my understanding through the mayor, from my understanding, and this is just based off single family homes, it's for every single family home, you need to have 2 parking lots. They can be beside each other, they can be in tandem. And then from there, if you want to have like a basement suite and or a carriage home, it's 1 extra spot for each of those. So like if a single family home were to like maximize the amount of housing they want to have in their building, that would be 3 units that they could rent, or 2 units they can rent out and 1 they gotta own. That would be 4 parking spots. For a duplex, it's the same idea. So 2 spots per home for that one, and a triplex and so on and so forth.
Basically 2 spots per home. If you had a carriage house, that would be 1 extra spot. If you were renting out your basement, that would be another spot there. So then you would be at 4.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I can't see that, sorry.
10% of the required parking spaces must be designated visitor parking. So what does that mean? Like 1.1 per dwelling unit and 10% of the required parking spaces must be designated visitor parking. So if you have an apartment building, that's for the entire apartment building, right? So there's 20 apartments in this apartment building and that would mean that they would have to have what, 22 spaces? 21 for each resident and then 10% for visitors. That'd be right? 2 spaces?
Who's the mayor? I believe Thomas. raised
Yeah.
his hand up.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. So yeah, you're right. So if you had 20 units in an apartment building, you would need 22 spots, 1 per unit plus 2 in total as designated visitor parking. I'd like to also bring up what's not noted on this table here that we're looking at is specifically for assisted living units. So I know council brought that up. I brought up the zoning bylaw here on my screen. So if it's for example, a seniors residence and the seniors are receiving any form of care, any form of care or guidance, the parking norm is actually much lower. So instead of requiring 1.1 per unit, it's actually 1 per 4 units. But that's specifically for assisted living facilities, just because, as you mentioned, the wheelchair might be, or a electric scooter might be more reasonable than a car, right?
Right, and I think that we might be getting assisted when we have that bill, but currently there is no assisted living. They are subsidized, so.
Yeah, so indeed, so if there's no form of assistance, if it's essentially just a regular rental apartment, but aimed at an older demographic, then the higher norm would apply. So you would be looking at the 1.1 spaces per unit.
Okay, thanks. Councilor McNary.
On this note of these EV charging spots and whatnot, we've got to be very careful with our grid also, because that's why the government, I just remember what they said, is that the grid we have now will not handle all these charging stations.
The
With
hydro
housing,
grid.
the hydro thing.
Okay.
Also, so, where are we beating ourselves to, like, if it won't handle it, why are we doing it? That was what come up on the thing there the other day.
Are you sticking with option 4?
I'm sticking with no EVs yet.
Okay. Councilor Plan, did you tell us your change of option?
Yeah, I'm going to swing from one side to the total other side here after the explanation of 2 for a residence, carriage house, if you've got something below, and then basically if you're going up to 5 vehicles, it wouldn't hurt to have one, so I'm gonna go for option 1.
You're gonna go for option 1? Okay. I'm going with, I am going with the option. Well, I was going with the 2 or 3, but it doesn't matter. If Councillor Aiken, you are option 1, Councillor Plan, you are option 1, and Councillor Weeb, you are option 1. Is that correct? You're still
Having trouble
muted.
with my mic. Yes, I'm option 1.
Okay, all right. Then it is option 1. Okay. All right, I'm gonna move on to B, EV charging for tourists and other non-residential land uses. Okay, so this one, has option 1. And we only have option 1 on this one, don't we? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so, option one, staff recommend keeping the 10% rule for all other non-residential uses, but making the first 6 spaces exempt from the mandatory EV charging spots. So this would include hotels as well. That's how I read this. It's,
Through the mayor, so hotels would be, I believe, considered commercial tourist accommodation, so that would be a 20% minimum for EV.
they would be 20% minimum. So I found a couple of the hotels in Kamloops. And I found, the one I found was, the Marriott Fairfield. They have 114 rooms and they have 4 number 2 EV charging stations. They said it's absolutely fine. There's basically, they're never filled. So I was even a little surprised because I thought they had more than that, but they only have 4 for 114 rooms. I found the Coast Hotel, they just did a reno. They have 203 rooms and they have no EV charging stations. I believe the one in Pemberton has 2 or 3 maybe EV charging stations, and they probably got 100 rooms. So I think that this to me is, I would like to see this down from the 20%, because it's like if we build 100, they need 20 EV charging stations. I think that's really high because first of all, most hotels aren't booked at capacity all the time. And same with restaurants, because this is a supermarket, gas station, restaurant, all need 10% of their mandatory spots, but they're not at capacity all the time. So I think that there's some wiggle room. That's mine. And I think that we should, we need to lower that percentage. But I'll hear from the rest. Councillor Plan.
Through the mayor, the question I had is this here for tourist and non-residential. We're talking about new builds again, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then my question is for that is, okay, so this is for new builds, so we're doing the 10%, 20%, whatever it be. So what happens if you have a supermarket or you have hotel or whatever who is already built, already established, they are wanting to add EV chargers? Do they then have to follow that 10 or 20% rule that's coming in, or could they just add the number that they wanted to add? Because we're not talking new, but we're adding to what they are.
Through the mayor, and Thomas can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is like if an existing business wants to add EV chargers, they can add 1, they can add 100, like it's up to them. The requirement to put them in is only for like a completely new build. Okay. So they wouldn't be required if they wanted to add 1, just because if their customers are asking for it, they could do so. They're not required to then meet the 20% thing. That would only apply to like, brand new hotel or business.
Through mayor, thank you. Yeah, I was concerned about that. But I am sort of agreeing with the mayor there that this does seem to be a little too much when you are looking at large hotel chains who only have a couple of chargers or no chargers at all. And then the same if you do look at some of the supermarkets in the bigger centers as well. They don't really have like a 10% or this, that or the other. Or if you're traveling through, there are EV stations here and there. So I do think we are going a little bit overboard here. It may be closer if you are in a larger center. I still think it would be overboard, but for a smaller rural area, having 10 or 20% of your parking spaces when it's still almost a novelty for some things going, oh, there's Tesla. So I don't know what I agreed to there, but yeah. It's a little too much.
Do we have a number? Do you want to get that number on it? Do you want to look at the percentages? What's council's thoughts?
Mine is like 5%. If there's 100 rooms and we got 5 EV charging stations, I don't know. I would think that 5% is good, and I also think that anybody building a hotel would want to put them in to get the customers to stay there, right? I mean, I was a little surprised that the Coast Hotel had 203 rooms and no EV charging stations, but again, the Fairfield only has 4 for 114, so I don't know, and I've never once seen them all charged, all of them filled. Same with that at Bilo, I've seen 1 or 2 cars there on occasion, but I haven't seen them packed in there or anything. Gas stations, I know that Esso has 1 in the back. And I know that the hotel up on the height, or up on Mountain View has 1 or 2 charging stations there. There's. Yeah, Manny's has, 3 or 4, I think they have.
And 341 Main or whatever, that new building, they have 2.
Yeah. So, I don't know, Councilor Reagan.
Just through the mayor, I'm just wondering where these numbers come from. Is there like government recommendations or is pick these out of the air? I'm sure they come from somewhere. I'm just curious. Thomas.
Yeah, through the mayor. So the 20%, I believe that was something that we came up with some inspiration from other municipalities, but this has been a few months in the making. So, Yvonne, do you recall when we chose the 20%?
Through the mayor, through my understanding, I believe it's from the current zoning bylaw that is just bringing it over. I could be wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Have to double check as well, unfortunately.
Okay, so number, what do you guys think? So if there was a hotel with 100 rooms, how many do you think that they should have? Go ahead.
Through the mayor, just the.
Oh, sorry, Councilor, we did not see your hand up there, I'm blind. Go ahead.
It's all good. I'm kind of going with 2.
2%?
No, just 2 period for everything. The suggestion would be 2 if they want to put more in, thinking they'll get more customers with the vehicles. I mean, I can't see us having a hotel here with 200 rooms. I'm thinking 100 max, maybe. So I'm thinking 2 EV stations there, type of thing. And then leave it up to the person building the facilities, or give them that option, but that they have to have 2.
Okay. Councilor Fun?
I would support Councilor Reeves' suggestion.
Okay. Councilor Aiken?
You can comment.
Can you what?
Oh, no comment.
Well, sure you can. That's how it works. Love to go on one?
I'm okay with the option 1 there, but it's not applied, so.
No, it doesn't look that way. It doesn't look promising. So, okay. And Councilor McNary?
I think it should be left up to the builder.
Okay.
So, because I don't think it's gonna work. That's my problem, is the EV is not going to work again. We don't have the infrastructure for it or anything. And it's an expense that we're putting on the people for no reason. Like, the government isn't even making them do it yet.
I know.
And I don't like it.
Well, I'm okay for hotels. For the 2, I'll support Councilor Reeves too, because I know that when we go to Pemberton, that's a place that they can charge their vehicles, and I think it's on a pay thing too, where, so it's only out there for a couple hours, then they're off and they're parked, and it's not like they're sitting there all night, so. I'll support the 2. Councilor Weave, your hand is still up. Is it up from before, or do you have another question? Okay.
Down now.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think, Councilor Weep, or Flan? Where are you?
Yeah, plan here. Through the mayor, and now I've forgotten what I wanted to say. With the EV chargers, if we left it or whatever, would it be possible if the builder or whatever it is, are they able to apply for a variance to say, hey, we don't want to do this?
Through the mayor, yes, they can if they want to. They
Yeah.
can even vary the amount of parking that they want to have in there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so we could have the two, and if they were dead against it, they could apply for a variance to say, hey, we don't want this, and it would come to council.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good with two.
Okay, two, and Christina.
Through the mayor, just,
Or Ms. Kim.
I have another option for council to consider, which is going to the spirit of the two, but as I think is more easy to apply. Where if you need 0 to 6 parking spots, you don't need to have any EV charging capability. If you're 7 to 20, you only need 1, and if you need more than 20 parking spaces, then 2. Or like, 7 to 10 or 7 to 15, you need 1. Like just to break it up so that smaller businesses, may only need 1. And then if you're like a big hotel, you need 2.
Okay, could you repeat that again? So the first 6 are exempt. If you just have 6 parking spaces, you don't need any. If you have 7 to,
I picked 20, but it could be any number, like 7 to 20 spots, you only require 1 space, has to have the outlet accessibility. If you need more than 20 spaces, you're a bigger operation, whatever it is.
then you need 2. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Are you good with that? Councillor Weep, are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, thank you. How do you feel about that? You're not good with it. Okay. And you don't like it either, opposite ends too. Okay, but three rules, eh? Okay, so we're gonna go with Mrs. Tim's first 6 don't count, 7 to 21 over 22.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, all right. All right, let's go on to number 3, understanding of drug rehabilitation and homeless shelters fall under community care facility and proposed alternatives. So we have no options, but staff do not recommend including a separate definition for supportive housing types unless council desires to exclude this from certain zones. So staff recommend allowing supportive housing in all zones where other forms of housing and community care is permitted. This is in line with the previous 2018 bylaw. If council desires staff to further split of the definition, staff recommends a review in the spring. Councillor Flynn.
Okay, through the mayor. So on page 29, it says, as the mayor was just saying, staff read through the current 2018 bylaw. Community care facilities were listed as being permitted in all zones. So in the draft that did come to us, the community care facilities were listed, but I don't believe they were in all the zones previously because the draft that came to us was a red line version. And the community care facilities were added to at least 9 zones. So if they were in the red on the red line version, that means that they were added and were not in the previous version. Is that correct?
Through the mayor, it's kind of tricky because there's a separate section at the beginning that lists uses permitted in all zones. So one of the early drafts had community care facility listed there. But because we thought, it doesn't make sense to allow a community care facility in the conservation zone, for example, or resource. So instead of keeping it under the uses permitted in all zones, it was added under the specific uses listed and then like all the residential zones and commercial zones. So that's why it appeared in the as an addition.
Regardless, I'm still having a really hard time with this one. And don't get me wrong, I totally understand it. I know we need supportive housing, and especially in this age and time and everything else. And I'm not against it at all, but I don't believe it's right to do supportive housing in all zones. There are places for supportive housing and there's places that it shouldn't be. What zones off the top of my head, I really don't know, but I don't think that that should be all in all the zones. I do feel that we've got to review this a little bit more carefully. As I mentioned back in September, other municipalities have separated their uses in their bylaws. And also mentioned in the information package here on page 30, staff even said that they examined the bylaws of Smithers and Kelowna, and supportive housing is not included in all areas. So I'm not really understanding why we're being told now that we should have it in all of our zones when other places do not have them in all of the zones. I'm having a hard time with this one, and I would really like to do the little recommendation at the bottom, saying that to review it again in the spring until there's been some more research. Supportive housing, it plays such an important role in recovery, but while helping individuals, we really have to make sure that the neighborhoods, that the impacts to the neighborhoods that they're possibly going into are managed fairly.
So just for clarification, if we were to bring this back and have a review in the spring, would we bring this back as a separate agenda item to review in its entirety?
Yes,
Okay.
through the mayor, that would be the way we would approach that, correct?
Thank you.
Thank you, through the mayor. I'm gonna get really geeky here and quite not emotional, but I'm gonna get really geeky here. We could probably spend 3 hours on this topic today and get no further forward on it. As legally, ethically, morally, community-wise, it's an absolute, and I probably, it's not, we're really opening up a can of worms that we might not get back in the box if we start trying to look at certain areas we should be looking at, certain areas we shouldn't be looking at. How do we identify those areas and what we should do? So this is one that I stand very, very, very strongly with on staff's recommendations and Councillor Flann's recommendation to bring one back later on in the spring. I love the fact that it's been picked up. I love the fact that we're looking through it. It shows the level of detail that council are taking on this, and I think that's fantastic. But we want to make sure that we get this one absolutely right. So this is one that's, I completely agree with Councillor Flann. Bring it back in the spring and really get into some detail on it.
Okay, Councillor Weed, I'm gonna go to you online. How do you feel about bringing this one back in the spring?
Well, I think it's a really tricky one, and no matter what we do, it's gonna be a mess. I prefer that it be in a particular zone, much like Smithers, because I don't think, I understand that these are people in recovery and this, that, and the other, but I really don't, I wouldn't like them across the street from the school or around the corner from the school, or, you know, there's so many things there that can go wrong. So yeah, if we just want to table that one section and bring it back in the spring, it'll give us time to maybe figure something out.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McNary, how do you feel about that?
I feel like that's something we should do. It's gonna be considered what we want to do there for those reasons. It's an uncomfortable thing for sure, but I don't think we should be winging it in a couple of meetings.
And I think what makes it so hard is our town is so small. It's not like we have the big, huge town and we have a lot of space. We don't. We have a very small community. Councillor Aiken, how do you feel about this?
I'm agree with Councillor Flann. I think there's definitely a need for these places in the community, but where we put them is It's critically important, because I know that people have actually moved from their homes based on one of these places dealing with things, so. Okay. It's unfortunate, and it's, I think it just reinforces our needs to really take our time and figure out what we want from these support things.
Okay, we look forward to seeing this in the spring. Oh, we don't. Okay, let's move on to fence heights. We have option 1, option 2, and option 3. I'm gonna turn this one over to Councillor Flam, because I know that she was the one that brought up the fence heights, and I know she doesn't like option 1.
Okay, page 30. We've got aesthetics, sunlight, airflow, neighbor relations, privacy versus balance. They're all valid reasons to keep a fence at 6 foot. But all of those reasons hold true for a 7-foot fence as well. And spike fences, they're gonna happen whether you've got a 4-foot fence or a 40-foot fence. I'm still holding to what I said before, that with the survey, when you put all of those responses in together, it does lean more to people wanting a higher fence than 6 feet. I feel allowing a 7-foot fence is going to hit the average of what the public wanted from all the responses for height limit. So I want to go for option 2 to increase it to a 7-foot with a 3-foot mesh topper.
Okay, Councillor Aiken.
How about that?
You're back 7 foot? Okay. Councillor McNary,
No, back 7.
7 feet?
It's useless anyways.
Yeah. Okay, with Councillor Weed, how do you feel about the useless 7 feet?
All back 7. All back 7.
Okay, there we go. Anything further to talk about the fence heights? Oh, Councillor Glenn, don't say 8.
No, hey,
Okay.
I pulled myself back.
All right.
I was going by the averages there.
Yeah.
Talking of fencing, and I love how staff explained why they didn't print it or attach the draft bylaw to the agenda for, just wanted council's feedback on just the little things, because it was actually a good strategy, because we do tend to jump around a lot like squirrels at a rave. But almost took it as a challenge. So one thing we never mentioned, and I brought it up with staff mentioning the aesthetics and sunlight, etc., is that we do not have a height limit for cedar hedges. They are a living fence. They resemble everything that we've said about an actual fence. The way we feel about the 6 or 7 foot fence. And most of the cedar hedges in town, most of them are not looked after. They're scraggly, they're deer eaten, and they're not fire smart. So I want to ask if we can either table it for later, bring it back in the spring, but if we should be looking into limits for cedar hedges, because you're going to have you have the same problems as listed with fences as for neighborhood privacy, light, and everything else. So I think we should be looking at the heights of cedar hedges as well.
Any kind of hedge.
Yeah, because they're on a property line, they're exactly the same as a fence, but you've capped me at 7 feet. And you can do a cedar up to 40 feet. So.
And that would be, would that be, all existing would be grandfathered in?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how would we even monitor
That's
something?
why-
How would we gauge something like that if all existing were grandfathered in? How would you know that these ones are new over here and those ones have been here prior to?
That's where we bring in our amazing fire smart personnel.
So the
Fire
fire
smart.
smart is good, but the fire smart is basically around the house, is it not? Isn't that around like, it's not,
Yep.
it's not 20 feet away from the house,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah, it's a yard.
Yeah. So I don't know, CAO, do you want to?
Yeah, I think that actually quite a lot, quite a few of the complaints we've had this year were very specific to Cedar Hedges. I've dealt with a number of them in the BLA, and I've dealt with a couple of complaints in other areas up in the Hot Farm as well on Cedar Hedges. It's a valid point. I think it's maybe a fair comment to try and have them maintained to a certain height. The only issue that I have at most horticultural days, if you top a hedge at a certain height, it goes the opposite way. So you end up just with very broad, dead in the middle, kind of ugly looking cedar hedges, unless you top them and prune them when they're getting grown up. It's one the staff could maybe look at and maybe try and bring back, because we don't want to be creating a new problem by allowing blanket cedar hedges, because I know it's a complaint. I know it's a complaint, so I think staff could bring that one back and we'll look at it. Is it a form of a living hedge? Maybe just not call it cedar hedges, but a living fence. Is that something we want to look at permitting and kind of capping and holding true? Where do we put those guys? Do we put those guys at the 10, 12 foot mark, the same as the kind of 7 foot plus 3 foot, and keep them to 10 foot? Kind of keep them in the same range, Jocelyn? I'm just trying.
Yeah, but
I mean,
when you're doing that, you're doing 7 feet plus 3 feet of mesh so you can see through.
Yeah, true.
So if you
Keep
do
it 7. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Staff can go away and have a look at that. I don't think that would be unreasonable to try and look at that. And then we can come back with some other options and grandfather and what we do with people and look at some options.
So, and how would we monitor that? Would we just tell people, okay, your fence, your living fence is 12 feet, you need to cut it back, or?
Well, I think that,
Could we make it so that we could give everybody a year to cut theirs down to height, or do we actually have to grandfather them in?
Or through the mayor, you could do something as a education thing. This is what we're doing. We're thinking of yada, yada, yada. Do it as you can do it, and then add it at a later date on a complaint basis, like we do with a lot of bylaw. So we wouldn't have to monitor per se, but leave it up to people to follow. And
Councillor Weed. Councillor Weed?
Just so you know, I'm still here. Is there a reason that we can't do 2 and just kind of add in there, including living fences? And I don't think we should grandfather them in personally. I think they're becoming quite the eyesore with the deer eating the bottoms. It's not really a privacy fence anymore.
So you're saying that go with option 2, increase regular fence and living fence allowance to 7 feet with a 3-foot wire mesh topper if desired, for a total of 10, and just write that in to option 2 as an amendment, or?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't want to keep bringing things back and all we're doing is delaying the inevitable. Some people are going to complain, some people aren't. I'm sure there's a few people out there that are wishing they were never there. Like I say, we have them down our property. They're the neighbors, and as they die, we cut them down. So it's all patchy, like it looks ridiculous, but they won't go along with the fire smart scenario. So I don't know. I think we just put it in there, and no, don't grandfather in what's already there. These are the new bylaws. This is the way it is. Chop down.
Chopping down. Thomas, can you weigh in on this?
Yeah, so thank you, Madam Mayor. So the first thing that comes to mind, listening to this discussion, is enforcement, and the volume of complaints that we might receive. Just based on my own experience in Lillooet, I know that there's a lot of hedges. I know that there's a lot of bushes / shrubbery, many of which is more than 7 feet. I think I'd almost be inclined to say a separate discussion would need to be had with people within the district of Lillooet that would potentially do this enforcement, because it seems like it could get out of hand very quickly. And could lead to a lot of pushback. So I don't know, Christina, could you weigh in on this one as well?
Through the mayor, I would agree with Thomas, but I think like especially if we're already bringing back a couple of things like this in the spring. I mean, I know just personally, when I walk around my neighborhood on the Heights in the summer, a lot of those shade spots where I go to just to like rest in the shade for a few minutes are in the shadow of big hedges. So I think there's other implications that, the average person walking your dog around the street, and then all of a sudden, like we're kind of throwing it in the zoning bylaw sort of last minute, it wasn't part of the public engagement. I think, there could be potential for a big public pushback. And I'd also like to do more research into like, is this done elsewhere? And are there options for, new fences, or can you just make a bylaw that says, okay, we have a, anyway, I think we could do more research, and if we don't change it right now, but, add it to our now list of 2 things to kind of revisit.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Councilor Mary, right?
Another thing, I'm fine with what she's saying too, but another thing we gotta consider is a lot of the people are using up for windbreaks on the hop farm.
True.
And that's a huge factor up there.
Mhm.
I grew up there when I was a kid. I know what the wind's like.
Councilor Flan, you had your hand up, and I'll go to Councilor Reagan. Okay, Councilor Reagan.
I think we should have it some 10-foot pole there, to be honest. It's got to make it to like Cedar Gate, I think, because lots of people use like February for privacy. Like, what else are you gonna put up for privacy? You can't put a 10-foot fence. Like, if your house is up here and this is how I'm standing here, like people down here looking right into your backyard. And people put cedars up to get some privacy. And we tell them we gotta cut them down. People are pissed.
So can we have our 20-foot fence then?
No. Okay, I think the consensus is to, Councilor Weed, sorry.
It's a very big hand. I'd like to know what Councillor Aiken's doing that he needs a 20-foot fence. I'm okay with having more discussion on it, but I'm wondering if there can be somewhere where something is written for the community engagement. That way we kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get a little bit of feedback on it.
Christina? Mrs. Timms? Would that be okay if we're going to do community engagement? Can we add that?
Yeah, it's really, I'm going to jump in and say, let's not, we're going to start majoring on minors, and this is zoning. We want to keep it to the specifics of it, and we're always going to find these little nuances of kind of things. I think council will concentrate on, let's get the fence stuff done. There's a living fence, and we want to talk about that later down the line, and we bring it back in the spring. We can have a good conversation, put an engagement idea, or get people's input, have maybe look at it. I mean, looking to try and enforce it, how we do it, and all these other things can get very, very distracting very quick. One hand, we're talking about not making people put in EV chargers and not allowing people to, not making them do things, and then 1 minute we're making them do things at the same time. We're kind of feel like we're pushing and pulling a rope at the same time here, and I think it can cause a bit of fatigue within the community if they're thinking, so you're not going to make it new developers put in EV chargers, but you're going to make me chop down my hedge. It feels like we're pushing and pulling in the wrong things. I think that there is an opportunity to bring that one back. I think it's a good conversation to look at. I think that we should use the right tools for it. Fire smarting, dangerous trees, insurance policies, all these things are things we can dip into. If there's a large cedar tree and it's dangerous and it's got the potential to hit something, there's an insurability of that. There's something there that we need to look at. There's additional privacy and shading a house intentional next to somebody else's house, and there's fire risk. Absolutely. Grandfathering these things in. The trees become very personal, as an arborist, trees become very personal very quick. And you're going to end up with, my great-great-grandfather planted that row of trees and you can't cut it down, and if you touch it, I'm going to sue you. We could end up in litigation. So I would say that we don't touch that one just now. I think it's a good conversation, but not for not right now.
Okay. Counselor Kwan.
So through the mayor, I go for option 2 for the 7-foot fence and for us to bring back cedars in the spring.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody good with that? No?
I don't want to touch cedars myself.
You don't want to touch cedars?
What's that?
For the spring.
Counselor Plan wants the living fence brought back in the spring for future, dialogue. Counselor Aiken does not. Counselor Weed, bring it back in the spring or don't bring it back in the spring? We got 1 and 1 here.
I wish the deer were taller so they'd eat all the tops. Bring it back in the spring, I guess.
Okay. Bring it back in the spring. Okay, we'll bring it back in the spring. Okay, so option 2 with a spring conversation. Living fence. Okay. Number 5. Lawn parking of unoccupied registered RVs on street. Okay, we got option 1, we got option 2. Option 1, staff recommend keeping the following general prohibition over, yes. 5517 on-street parking of personal watercraft trailers, campers, utility trailers, and recreational vehicles, so none of those, or on-street parking of those vehicles more or less than 7 days. But it's harder to enforce because they can move it basically 3 feet down the road and that's all good. Right?
Essentially, through the mayor, yes.
Okay, because they've moved it, it's not in the same space, blah, blah, blah. Counselor Aiken, option 1 or 2?
I'm gonna go with option 1 because I'm gonna open a storage yard. I'm gonna fill the RVs.
Right, do we have derelict vehicles? Counselor Flynn?
To the mayor, I realize it would create a lot more complications, but I'm for option 2. And really, you would only be seeing, just for the summer months, you'd only see RVs and boats and whatever there, and there's no need for them to be on the street during the winter at all. So I'm for option 2.
Okay, Counselor Weed, option 1 or 2?
Option 2.
Okay, I'm option 1. Counselor McNary, you're the deciding vote.
If I'm option 2, if they don't have them on the street in the winter time.
Oh,
They
it
cannot
does not
park.
say that though.
Didn't say that?
It says on-street parking, so they can have a motor home and they can have it parked out in front of their house and move it back and forth all year long.
We can have that.
But then we gotta look at who's monitoring this and do we have the staff to keep enforcing all these things? So I'll go to our CAO for that answer.
A complaints will be based on, by law enforcement, will be based on the complaints.
So if somebody has a complaint, the bylaw goes up there and then they move it 3 feet, we're good.
No.
Yeah,
Technically, no,
Yeah.
but I mean,
but,
yeah,
but technically, actually, yes. Are we not?
if it doesn't meet the intended bylaw. I mean, if somebody was just doing this 3 foot and just saying, well, if that,
That's not right.
yeah, I think that would be.
Okay, Councillor Kwan?
Yeah, through the mayor. I don't know, I think we need to give a little bit something for the people who do all of their summer activities, RVing, boating and everything. So I'm not sure if, I do want to see them on there. I do not want to see them during the winter. So I don't know if it would be something that 7 days within May to October, because your camping season starts in May. And pretty much that's when your water sports, your camping and everything. And by the end of September, you're pretty much finished. People are winterizing their trailers and they're putting their boats away. So if we had something from May to September, and then that would cover it and nothing on the streets otherwise.
Okay, Councilor Aiken?
Through the mayor, just back to what Bill said about enforcement there, like so many parks here are on the street, nobody complains. Nothing happens, is that correct?
Through the mayor, unless it was, unless bylaw go past the city continuously there and it was causing interference, they would maybe, maybe kind of go in and forward to them and say, look, this is explain the bylaw fraud, but if we got a complaint, we would react to it. But I wouldn't say it would be the number one priority for bylaw. I think when the bylaw officer goes round, if he sees it and understands what's happening, he may start making it law, but if he sees, strawberry things growing around it and things like that, I think he would be having something to say about it.
Becomes a 12 or 14-foot fence. Councilor McNary.
I like what Patty's saying, give it a timeline in the summertime, because there's, up in the heights, there's people that just don't have room to put nothing on the property for overnight or something, or for a week or so, or, maybe their company comes in. Who knows? Like, I really like what Patty had to say, go from May to the end of August, and then after that, you gotta get her somewhere else, nothing on the streets.
Okay, well, let's just go
Can
May
we,
first
can we,
to, May
can we
1st
do
to, I don't know, can we do that? May 1st to, I don't know, because May long weekend, right, is when everybody's getting ready, so we might as well do it from May 1st till September 30th or something like that.
Through the mayor, a lot of people who are doing the camping and RVing have got school-age children. School starts, so do it the weekend after the September long weekend. So what is that, Labor weekend or something? So that would be like.
Well, let's just do it, let's just do like 6 months. If we did, May, June, July, August, September,
5 months.
5 months. 5 months, just a straight 5 months. It's easier to do it instead of doing a particular day. Councilor Weep, how do you feel about this?
Well, I was actually thinking April till September, but May till September works. I don't know if I would put 5 months without specifying the months, because someone might pick their 5 months in the winter.
No, I would say May 1st till October 1st.
Sure.
The 30th.
Oh my God. Okay. Ditto.
Thank you. We may need to make a couple of considerations as well if there's large trailers for snowmobiles. Instead, sorry to throw you that curve. Sorry to throw you a curveball, but just in case somebody decides to show.
Well, there's
up,
4-wheelers too.
Just an ATV and.
ATV, 4-wheeler,
Just throwing that.
The mayor, an ATV or whatever is small enough that you could park it down the side of your house or whatever. Travel trailer or boat, you're not gonna get down your sidewalk.
You don't know how big the trailer is though.
Well, you can easily drive it off the trailer and put it in your sidewalk.
Well, if they don't get a complaint on it for a day or two, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, so staff, do you have any suggestions?
No, I just wanted to kind of just highlight sledding community. But just so that we're not kind of missing that, we may need to include sleds or sledding, ATV and side by sides, just for that consideration.
Okay, why don't we just go with option 2?
Option 2 is fine.
Okay.
I like the option for the 6 month. I like the May to September. I think that's fantastic. I like the.
But then it doesn't fit the.
Yeah, but I think we can maybe have a look at small stuff. I'm just throwing it in there, just throwing it in there.
I honestly think it should be to the end of the Labor Day weekend, because you don't need all of September. I guess the weather's still good.
Yeah, but I mean, lots of people don't have kids.
Yeah, maybe September.
Not everybody has kids. Not everybody likes to go camping with all the kids. me. Yeah, okay.
Do you have any
All right,
motion?
so, sorry, through the mayor.
I don't know.
Okay. So we're looking at between September and October for,
Yeah, I would say end of September, like I would go like May first or October first or April 30th
Remember
to
me?
September 30th. We do a straight 5 or 6 months, whatever.
okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Just do something that makes it easy for people to understand, not a particular date, and opens it up for not just people with children.
Yeah, May first to September 30th, so we have 7 days.
To do it,
And nothing on the roads from September 30 to April.
so now we do it the first to the first. Just for. First to the first. Don't forget. Yeah.
I seen that.
Or 30th.
I seen that.
Okay. Where are we? I think we're done.
For September 30.
Do we need any additional notes? What? Excuse me, Councilor Platt?
I'm done. Thursday.
Councillor Plan was just offering some dates.
No more. Okay, additional notes regarding council's questions. Does anybody have anything with that? From 1 to 6. Councilor Platt?
Number 3, I just want to say yes, please do that. That's the request for community disturbance and policy. Recommend putting them in the business line.
Okay, anything else? Councilor Aiken, we're good.
I'm just glad that we changed the equestrian center in there
Okay,
and also the community disturbance system. That's gonna be slice and slice.
yeah. Okay. Two
I'm
seconds.
good.
You're good, and,
There, taking Councillor Plan, and then I just want to see if there's any other comments from
okay,
staff.
I'll get there.
No, through the mayor, and I just want to thank staff for listening about the buffer zones and the plants and making fire smart. That was mentioned there.
Councilor Weeb, do you have anything on 1 to 6?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And
Oh, right, okay.
yeah, thank you through the mayor. James Thomas, thank you so much for this. Yvonne, Christina, Xerxes, good to see you again. I really appreciate the kind of back and forwards on this. This is a really difficult topic, and I think you can appreciate how into the topic this council get and some of the kind of detail and pick up on stuff. So thanks for kind of steering through all this. You've kind of been absolutely fantastic, and the level of professionalism and the level of back and forwards is very welcome. Certainly from my seat, it's nice to see. And it's done well. You know, this council worked phenomenally well. Not many councils can sit across from each other with completely opposing feelings and ideas and thoughts, and still kind of remain banterful with it. So well done, council. Thanks on that.
I agree.
Well,
And
very
thank
well
you,
done.
James. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Yvonne. Okay, so,
Thanks, guys.
So I need somebody to move that the report on topics for further discussion related to the new zoning bylaw be received for information, and that staff be directed to make changes to the draft bylaw as a result of the discussion, and that a public hearing be scheduled, and further that staff give notice of the public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. Councillor McNary, Councillor Aiken, all in favor? Carried. Okay. All right, 10.1, 2026 grants in lieu of municipal property tax. I don't know that we need more conversation on this. Do you wanna, anybody wanna speak to it?
I think that's my role.
Sure, yeah. Glad to have you up here.
Sure. All right.
Page 33.
Yes, page 33, everyone. Okay, so of course, I think everybody was here last council meeting, September 16th. So it's kind of a follow-up or a a revisiting of that situation. So the subject on page 33 is the 2026 grants in lieu of municipal property tax. So the staff, we recommend that the council pass the following resolution. Again, this was discussed at the last council, that the following properties be approved for a grant in lieu of municipal property tax in the amount of 100% of their 26 municipal property tax levy. So the properties are 603 Main Street, 577 Main Street, as well as 116 Main Street. Also known by their names of Seventh-day Adventist Church for an amount of $186. United Church of Canada, we're looking at $318. And the Roman Catholic Bishops of Kamloops, we're looking to exempt them of $936. So the policy that we're implementing is to transition away from permissive tax exemptions to instead provide grants in lieu of municipal property taxes to ease the burden on other property owners who have subsidized their properties that receive permissive tax exemptions. As of the September 16th meeting of the Committee of the Whole, the committee recommended that the following grants in lieu of municipal property tax occur for the 26 taxation year. I outlined the properties. The financial implications of this is that in approving a grant in lieu of a municipal property tax for the 3 properties, including this report, will result in the district foregoing approximately $1,440 in municipal property tax revenues. Properties will still be required to pay the property tax levied by other taxing authorities. So again, this only pertains to the municipal component of the property tax. Okay, I think, and then I'll move on to the, no.
No, that's, good, thank you, but don't.
Okay.
Okay, questions, comments? No, so we're good, so, and just to recap, this is grants in lieu, they don't pay the municipal, but they still pay the other, tax, standard like SOIB and their school tax and policing tax and.
Yeah, it's only an exemption from the municipal property tax.
Okay.
And this.
All right, no questions. So would somebody please move that the following properties be approved for the grant in lieu of municipal property tax in the amount of 100% of their 2026 municipal property tax levy, 603 Main Street, 577 Main Street, 1116 Main Street. Councilor Plan, Councilor McNary, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, and we'll go on to 11.1 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 2025-030.
Thank you, Mayor. So the staff's recommendation is that the council pass the following resolution. That permissive tax exemption bylaw number 25-30 be introduced and read a first time. And that permissive tax exemption, I guess the second time will be at the next meeting, or are we doing it all right now?
All right now.
Okay, and that permissive tax exemption bylaw number 25-30 be read a second time, and that permissive tax exemption bylaw number 25-30 be also read a third time. Okay, so the municipal goal. Permissive tax exemption bylaw is designed for lands and buildings owned by not-for-profit organizations. The idea is that some of these organizations may be financially struggling. However, they're also an integral part of the community and necessary for Lillooet's development and well-being. Thus, the municipality of Lillooet is willing to extend them a tax break in an effort to prevent them from closing shop. When the property portions of properties are no longer used for the reasons of the permitted exemption, the exemption from taxation will cease. Okay. So the background, section 224 of the community charter allows council to exempt certain land or improvements or both from municipal property taxes. To accomplish this, council must adopt a bylaw on or before October 31st of the current year to provide the property tax exemptions in the following calendar year. Prior to the adoption of the bylaw, the district is required to publish notice of the proposed bylaw. And notice of the proposed bylaw will be published in the October 9th and the 16th edition of the Bridge River Lillooet News. Okay, at the September 16th Committee of the Whole meeting, the committee recommended to council that the properties included in permissive tax exemption bylaw 25-30 be approved for a permissive tax exemption for the 26 taxation year.
So
Okay.
I think maybe hold off one comment through the mayor if we can. Since we've already kind of done this, these are just the formalities, the details that we're running through. So I really appreciate you kind of running through it. I'm pretty sure the council's quite aware of what we're kind of moving forward on it. I would like to point out that the Curran Rink has actually approached the emergency department to ask for emergency operations centre training. They're going to be working with their emergency departments and with our fire department to receive EOC training so that they can actually help and assist us either with cooling centres or with emergency operations. So they've already reached out and started to kind of satisfy some of their additional obligations that council had asked of them. A number of other community groups have also reached out to thank both council and staff for this recommendation.
So it was gonna be one of my questions is, because that's important that they give recognition, not even so much to us, but to the entire community
I'm sorry.
for it. So it's good to know that that's happening.
Yeah.
And if we had any of those letters or emails, maybe we should put them in as correspondence because it's, again.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, okay, and does anybody have any questions? Okay. Counselor Aiken, do you? I feel like you do.
I'd like to ask the question by emails, the implications on the average taxpayer, the impacts of this tax break for people. Yeah, a person would pay an extra $20 a month or a year kind of thing. I'm just curious what that number will be there.
I do recall the email. It was investigated at a preliminary level and you're right, a fully conclusive answer was not.
Yeah, just a ballpark is kind of
Yeah.
like getting out there.
I can present it up tomorrow.
Okay.
I was just curious. Just
Yeah,
better.
sure.
Just send it to Joe and then Joe can.
Absolutely.
Maybe our CAO.
It has. I think they can do a specific tax groupings. So it wouldn't necessarily, my understanding, and I'm not a CPA, my understanding is it would come out of that grouping of taxation. So if you had commercial, they would come out of the commercial grouping, not necessarily out of the members of public at large. So it wouldn't come out of residential. It would come out of the specific groupings. So those other groupings would then have to body up and pay the additional fees on it as well. So
The grand total, sorry to interrupt you there, grand total is about $52,775. So 50K, I thought to break it out by the population, but I didn't have an exact population number, but Joe probably, more experience.
we can get back to you.
Yeah, I'm just curious if somebody asked me anything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any,
Thank you.
any further questions? So we doesn't have a hand up, okay. Will somebody please move that the permissive tax exemption bylaw 2025-030 be introduced and read a first time, and that permissive tax exemption be read a second time, and that permissive tax exemption 2025-030 be read a third time. Councilor McNary, Councilor Flynn, all in favor? Carried. Okay. 11.2, Animal Control Bylaw number 2025-027 and related amendments to the fees and charges and bylaw notice enforcement bylaw. And thank you.
You're very welcome. I remember. Sure.
Okay. So we're on page 65.
Good evening. So this is also just sort of a formality as the proposed animal control bylaw and then the related amendments to fees and charges and then for bylaw notice enforcement was given first reading on July 15th and then a fairly significant kind of
revision that was passed for second and third reading on September 16th. So now in order to adopt the bylaw and for it to take effect, and then we'll do, if it gets adopted tonight, then staff are going to be working on preparing the public information and engagement part of the things in terms of getting them information on the website and making a brochure and kind of doing all that. So the decision for consideration right now is whether or not to adopt those bylaws. And if there's any more discussion or questions, we can get into it, but.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor McNary.
Do we have this facility to house dogs?
Through the mayor, we have the ability to take picture of something. So if there was something serious, we could take it to Kamloops, or we could have them come and transfer. We have done that before, where we would take an animal that was distressed and take it to Cash Creek, then somebody from Kamloops would come up and provide it. I've done that in the past. But we are still looking into what we're doing with the facility at the end of the street.
Will that come to council? That decision will come to council, what we're doing with that dog pound?
If we don't have a facility in town, I think this is a waste of time. I read through it all. It's until we have a facility and we can do what we want to do here. It's.
Councilor Fun.
I sort of agree, but I do believe that we need something in place for when we do have the pound, so that we're not going back to this for, it's a pound? Yeah,
it is a pound.
Yes, yeah, I believe that we do need to have this in place. Yes, some of the things we'll not be able to enforce at the time, but when we do have that ability, it's all in place for us to just glide right in there. But I do feel that we need to much sooner than later, look into what we are doing to get something up and running to do this, because the problem is not going away with the animals, dogs, etc. No matter how much education we are putting out there, people are still doing their own thing. But I appreciate everything that staff did for doing this bylaw, because I know I gave them a lot of grief in the whole thing as well, and and they did excellent. I'm all for passing it, but I do believe that we need to have this in force, so it is all ready for when we jump into building a pound.
This was very, very specific about when we were talking about animals, the amount of animals allowed on a property. So this was very specific to deal with the term unlimited, I believe. We were looking at how many animals we're looking at, because I know what this was taking of address, and then link that with the piece as well. Right.
Well, the bylaw as presented for second reading just had two changes. We added quail to the definition of small livestock and changed the unlimited wording. And then so the bylaw in your agenda has those changes, and that's the version that is up for adoption.
Councilor. I'm saying chicken and egg scenario, I guess. It is. Councilor Weep, how you doing up there?
Still hanging in.
Okay.
I'm all in favor of adopting the bylaw. We need something. There's too many dogs just running around and people afraid to walk them. And with the deer situation and all as well, I think we need some kind of a bylaw, and hopefully with a few fines, people will get it.
Through the mayor, and just a reminder, it started off basically as a dog bylaw, but we did, through conversation and everything else, we turned it into an animal bylaw for covering sheep, goats, and ostriches and emus, which I thought was really well done.
It's very topical for ostriches.
I know.
Councilor McNary, you okay with this?
No,
Okay. Anything you want to add to it?
I can't see why we can't adopt this in later, once we get our stuff. It's like kind of putting the horse before the cart.
For the dog piece of it, yes, but for the chickens and roosters and all that, then, I mean, we have to have it in place, so I might as well.
Through the mayor, I just wanted to add that if the problem that the pound is supposed to address is dogs at large, through the bylaw, people, like if someone makes a complaint about a dog at large, and say if the neighbor knows where that dog belongs to, like if the dog is totally doesn't have any tags and you have no idea where it belongs, then that's the problem that this bylaw doesn't really address without a pound. But if you know, like if you're, you know, your neighbor 3 doors down, that's their dog, if you make a complaint and the bylaw officer can follow up, they can still find that person if, you know, you having your dog at large. Again, it would be complaint based, but it's not, I don't think the bylaw doesn't entirely address the problem of dogs at large. It just doesn't completely address it. Okay. Just doesn't.
No more questions or comments? I'll call it. Will somebody please move that the animal control bylaw number 2025-027 be adopted, and that the fees and charges bylaw number 2021-003 amending bylaw number 9, bylaw number 2025-028 be adopted, and that the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw number 2021-002 amendment bylaw number 2025-029 be adopted. Councillor Clan, seconder, Councillor Aiken, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, Councillor McNary opposed. I saw her hand. Okay, 11.3, OCP land use map amendment related to the new zoning bylaw. So I know on page 92, there is 11 items. I'm not gonna go through those individually, but if anybody, and I do have a question on one of them, but if anybody has any questions on these, you'd like to speak to it? Oh, everybody, okay. I'll start with Councillor Aiken.
Sorry, would it be helpful for me to run through the list and show like pictures on the map? I know that might take a bit, but
yeah,
I would like,
sure.
I can do that, but if you don't want that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I don't know.
Let's get through this.
Okay.
Let's get through this. Okay.
I can throw up pictures of any of them.
Okay. I think if we, if somebody picks something that, if we can, that'd be good. Councillor Aiken, what number?
Number 8, and I wonder,
Number 8.
it's proposed to be conservation. I'm just wondering about the process, like the person that owns that land. Did they get told this is gonna be conservation and that's something it is, or did you get some sort of input into it? It's the one off Short Road.
Yeah, so,
80.
through the mayor. So this actually is all in the existing OCP, that whole lot is designated conservation.
Okay.
And I think in the zoning bylaw before that it was parks, but the odd thing about this one, and actually Kayvon brought this up, because I wasn't even aware of this until somebody was asking me a question about this property, that there's been these 2 mobiles on here since the 70s. And even though it was never, like in the 1970s, we looked back, historical zoning, I don't think there was any zoning for this property because it was outside. It wasn't shown on like the SLRD map at the time. Anyway, so when these were there, I don't think there was any zoning in place. So they're kind of considered existing non-conforming. But right now, if these were removed without this amendment and zoning change, like somebody couldn't put a new house there. So yeah, it is already designated conservation. But given that we know that those exist and that sort of little residential use has been in place for 50 years, that area is big enough to have a septic field for a new house. We thought it would make sense to just designate the little portion where those mobiles are to be suburban residential, so that either the owner of that whole lot could put a new house there potentially, or if they even wanted to subdivide, I don't know if they would, but just to create like a small lot in the middle. And the rest of that lot, I want to say only useful for a conservation and habitat purpose. It's very steep, right down to the river. There's not, like, when you look at the slope map, this is pretty much the only, I think, usable area for like buildings.
Is there a railroad out there?
Well, the railway would go across, like, it's kind of just after the rail bridge.
It's above the river. Or,
It is.
Yeah,
it's north of the river.
Past, yeah.
It's no consequence there. Just there. I guess my question again is, do we go to the landowners with this? Is my question.
through the mayor, yeah, so we haven't yet, but if this passes first and second reading, then, Kayla and I were talking about contacting a couple of these people, property owners. I mean, I find it hard to believe that anyone would be against this because really it, with the current conservation designation, they would have no building potential. If they have this, then they have, like, then their lot becomes worth more potentially, or if they want to sell or, so I would think it would benefit them, and I'm not anticipating a disagreement, but we have not contacted them yet, but the plan is after this, like maybe this or next week, to reach out.
Just to mayor, I think there's a sliver of south end of that can be accessed on the backside, that might be usable, but I just walk my dog by there all the time, and kind of, it's like a speed block from the house, but maybe it's not feasible, I don't know. Yeah, that, like you say, right now it's conservation, which I was kind of surprised there, to be honest there.
So you're not against this change at all?
No, I was just curious. About the
Just
process.
curious. Okay, perfect. Councillor Flynn?
And another one.
Oh, okay,
I can do turns.
okay. Councillor Flynn?
178 Mountain View Road, the curling rink. My question just is if the change to institutional will adversely impact the curling club for taxes going forward?
Through the mayor, I don't believe so, because taxes are always based on the current actual use of the land. So from a taxation perspective, the assessment value wouldn't change, I don't think. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't anticipate a change.
It's a curling rink, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just want to know if this would have anything.
I mean, we
with
do
changing
send,
that and, or if it would be assigned loosely to the class that they're in for taxes and if there would be any impact with any of them.
yeah, it wouldn't change their their class taxation, because again, that's based on the current use, and the current use isn't changing. We do send land use amendment changes like this to BC assessment, just so they're aware, but again, unless their use of the property is changing, I wouldn't anticipate any value of the property on that.
Okay, yeah, just as Lisa was saying that when we did this back in 2021, they were closed, so because I'm unsure what the use was going to be. So no, I'm fine with it. I'm concerned about if it will change taxes.
Okay,
No,
Councillor,
fine. Sorry, through the mayor, I couldn't find any other information. I could look into that. It's a good question.
do you have one? That you want to?
So when we talked to the curling rink before, though, they were gonna look into getting their taxes, getting it reassessed or something. Did that ever happen?
They did say they went for.
They did. Yeah, they did everything plus. Everything that they said that they were gonna do when they came back and this year, they did everything plus they've got more user groups in there and they're really helping the community in different ways.
So they've done their due diligence.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Aiken, you had another one.
I just had a question on 110 McEwen Road,
What number is that? Where are we?
number 10.
Number 10. Okay.
The question I have is in the southern, there, like that's access for the Instagram. And quite a way there. Just wonder if there's anything we can do to sort of preserve that somehow. Probably a no. Let's figure out and ask the question.
The district could always reach out, because it's privately owned, so if the district was interested in putting some sort of trail easement, like we could reach out to the property owners, but I mean, that would probably involve compensation of some kind, and I'm not sure if I would look to kind of say I was effective on that, but right now that sort of, any of the trails on that property are not, as far as I'm aware, not legally protected, because it's private.
So there's a hard one. access here, that's. We go, right away.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the title of that property to look at all, if there's any other easements in there.
I think there's just a plot up there, right there, isn't there?
It's right above Johnny Cave place there.
Yeah. It's old what, used to be the guy drive back and forth camels with parts all the time.
Oh, Treggs.
Triggs, yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think it's something, but anyways, that's
so, but you're not,
not against that.
You're not against it.
There's somebody should then go there, you know, it's gonna be inaccessible. Like,
So maybe just a comment, thinking about, just thinking out loud, if there was a development proposal or something came in from that, I suppose that would be the point in time that we would then say, we would put something on it and say we would be interested to try and get easements and stuff on it for the protection of that. Because I mean, it's not developable in the respect of having housing or other things on it. So, you know, when we're looking at these kind of angel developments, that would be one that we would look at kind of take part from. So when they do the development, you would say, so let's take some of that trail and networking kind of systems at that point in time. So you could definitely add that to it.
Thank you.
okay, my question was on number 7, 1824 Highway 99 North, and it said that this lot was subject to a rezoning application, blah, blah, blah. To split zone and split designate the property along the ALR boundary, where the ALR portion of the property would keep the agriculture zoning and designation, and the rest would be designated and zoned rural residential. But if that's a whole lot, isn't it all ALR?
No, so, this is, the dotted line is the ALR boundary. So people can have portions of their property that are within the ALR, but not the entire thing. So this, eastern portion, like on this side of the dotted line is all ALR, so that would stay agriculture.
Okay,
But the western side, I mean, a lot of it is steep, so there's not actually a huge subdivision potential, but they could do 1, maybe 2 rural residential lots. And it was held and we were sort of waiting for them to come back with a subdivision plan to then say, okay, this is your plan, now let's adopt it because it looks feasible. They sort of didn't come back. Now 2 years has passed, so that original bylaw that got to 3rd reading is considered expired or abandoned by their council procedure bylaw. So now, like, instead of going back and readopting that old bylaw, we're just wrapping that change into the rezoning bylaw. Because we've talked to those property owners and they still want this, they still want to be able to have because the rural residential zone, I think, has a smaller lot size for subdivision of only 1 hectare. So they could it just gives them more options if they want to subdivide that.
so I think I was just, like it says, the change in this amendment is for the non-ALR portion of the lot to be designated rural residential. So what is it designated now as? Is it?
So I guess the color is a bit weird on this map, but all of this is currently designated agriculture. It shows up. Oh no, there it is. This should be green. It's kind of funny on the projection, but so then after the change, the eastern side would stay green agriculture, but then this side would be orange rural residential.
What is this side now?
Well, the whole thing is agriculture right now.
It's, the whole thing is agriculture and only half of it is ALR.
Yeah.
Correct?
I think this is one that's the case that's, there's a lot of detail behind this. This has been back and forwards for like Christina said, for quite a few years on this. And we kind of find ourselves stuck in a bit of a moving forward, not moving forward kind of process with this one as well. I think that this solution cleans that up beautifully. I think the opportunity to kind of do this, especially for this lot, I think a really good opportunity for the developer to move forward without us having to deep dive and go out and do all the other public consultations and everything else that goes with it. So
Okay, so then this side would be agriculture and ALR, and this side would be just rural residential, right?
Correct, but it would be, designated rural residential in the OCP and zoned rural residential in the zoning bylaw.
Okay, all right, I just needed that clarified.
yeah, but allow the developer to press that forward to the development
That's right across from the
Yeah,
one.
they could do a 1 hectare subdivision. Whereas right now they, when agriculture zone is 2 or 8.
I'm just doing the.
And they would have had to have brought that forward previously, but no CPM.
I'm saying, but it's only 8 on one side, so
Yeah.
I just wanted that clarification, so.
Correct. So if they wanted a 1 hectare lot subdivision and they didn't do this, they would either have to do a separate OCP amendment or keep their subdivision to 2 hectares. And
Any other queries about 1 to 11? Counselor Weeb, are you okay with?
oh, I didn't share this so she could see it.
Yes, I have a question about the curling rink, but it's already been answered. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, there's no other questions or comments. Will somebody please move that the official community plan, bylaw number 2020-40, amending bylaw number 2025-031 be read a first time, and that the official community plan bylaw 2020-40, amending bylaw number 2025-031 be read a second time, and that a public hearing be scheduled, and further that staff give notice to the public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the local government act. Councilor McNary, Councilor Glenn, all in favor, carried. Okay. Is there any unfinished business or notice of motion? Seeing none. Go on to my report. Okay. UBCM. I'll start with the health, Rural Mayor's Health Team meeting, CAO Joe facilitated. We had a great space on the 3rd floor of the Parliament building, albeit a little confusing to get to. And at one point, Keith Baldry, the global BC political journalist, was assisting mayors to get there, asking what was going on if he could join. But one of the mayors said, no, sorry, it's private. So I thought that was kind of cool because, you know, we just have those people. We had 3 speakers. We had Mayor Merlin Blackwell from Clearwater, Daryl Procoa from Tublin Ridge, and Mayor Everett Baker from Grand Forks. And communities really have a variety of issues. These 3 spoke to physicians picking up locum shifts at other sites because the locums pay higher. They spoke of internal issues, permanent closures, as well as nursing gaps. It got actually quite emotional there for a minute, especially for one of the speakers. And the dedication of these mayors, all of them that came have to their community, is really above and beyond. They were all very grateful to Lillooet for arranging 2 hours with the minister, as nobody had 2 hours with the minister at UBCM themselves. So that was really good. I'm going to skip the minister questions. I'm going to bring that up at just due to time at another next meeting. But I do want to thank our CAO, Joe, for facilitating this meeting. It ran smoothly, stayed on point, and Joe and I shared the welcome and the closing remarks, and overall it was a real success. So, and the next steps for this group will be to expand our reach to Vancouver Island. The minister has offered to assist with bringing island communities on board, and Northern BC Mayor Sarah Storia Fraser Lake, who also serves as the 2nd Vice President of the UBCM, will help lead the expansion to northern rural hospitals. So we have City Strong Committee representing 23 communities, and it's a really solid foundation to build on moving forward. Okay, wearing this t-shirt, it's Save Our Streets. It's on the front, it's on the back. The recent escalation in crime and violence across BC, primarily in large communities, Kamloops, Chilliwack, Vancouver, Prince George, they've all reached a crisis point. And people are afraid. They're afraid of what's happening in their communities. They're afraid to go to work. Surrey and the extortion that's now happening. And just walking along the street, mental health is playing a big role in fear. And again, larger communities, but we all travel to those communities for whatever reasons or appointments. And so SOS are calling on governments to implement innovative, aggressive, and comprehensive solutions, and they want that done now. And because I wrote a resolution about 5 years ago for harsher penalties for repeat offenders, this rally was really important to me. And I have to say that Global BC TV said, there was a little blurb on there. It said 55% of criminal activity has increased in the past 4 years. 74% of crime and violence are impacting the quality of life. So, and I read that as if there's violence towards you, 74% of the people have impacts on their life because of that. And 50% fear for their own safety. So that's, to me, that's a pretty sad reality. So I became a member of the SOS, and if you want, you can go online and become a member too. I think it's a really good cause. So while I was at this rally, this is just a little bit of UBCM and what we do at this rally on the Parliament steps. I was speaking to a guy named Fred, and basic, chit chat. And the next day, Fred was in a lineup beside me to vote at the UBCM executive position. So we started to chat again. He's new mayor of Harrison Hot Springs through a by-election. It's a really interesting story. You can Google it because I have watched Harrison and a little bit crazy. But anyways, he's new mayor and I think it's going really well. But after Fred and I voted, we were walking out. We saw our CAO, Joe, Councillor Flynn. Can't remember who else was there. Can't remember if you were there or not. But I introduced them to Fred, and instantly Joe and Fred were discussing ideas and thoughts of collaboration. It just happened so fast that I was looking at Councillor Flynn going, really, like this is 2 minutes, and we were both kind of laughing. But that's how networking works. An introduction, an alignment of ideas, and it's really quite mind-boggling. But it's the importance of UBCM. It's not just the sessions or the lectures of the Canada versus US or the tariff talks. Sometimes what happens in the entrance of the hallway is just as important. And lastly, thanks to our CAO again for driving Councillor Flynn, Aiken Area Drain, B Director Vivian Birch Jones, and myself there and back